Good afternoon and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Public Housing. At this time, we ask that you silence all electronic devices, and at no time is anyone to approach the dais. If you would like to sign up for in-person testimony or have any other questions during the hearing, please see the Sergeant at Arms. Chair, we're ready to begin.
I'm calling this meeting to order. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilman Chris Banks, the chair of the Committee on Public Housing. And I'm glad to be joined by my colleagues, committee members as yet, but they'll be here. In 2019, the agreement between NYCHA and the city and HUD laid out clearly that there had to be a top-to-bottom changes in how NYCHA operates and put a federal monitor in place to oversee that change. Over the past 5 years, NYCHA has undergone serious changes under the federal monitorship, with some real progress being made impacting NYCHA tenants' lives. But even with that progress, there is still lots of work to do. As we start the second 5-year monitorship program, this committee wants to know clearly where NYCHA is in terms of their obligations under the HUD agreement, as well as their plans for the future. We are glad to be joined by the 2 new co-monitors who were appointed by HUD to hear what they have found as they've begun their work. I'm interested to know what they believe NYCHA needs to do to come into full compliance with the HUD agreement and position NYCHA in a place of stability for the future of all NYCHA residents. Today's hearing will be full of goals, metrics, numbers, but I want to make sure that we also always keep in mind how these goals ultimately relate to the tenets of NYCHA developments and their lives. I look forward to hearing from the monitors, NYCHA, and NYCHA's tenants about how we can all keep NYCHA moving forward. I would like to thank my staff, Michael Lambert, and the Public Housing Committee staff, Jose, Connor, Dan, Nicholas, Christopher, and Charles for all the work they've put into this hearing. We will first hear today from Neil Borowski and Matthew Chipola, the co-monitors for NYCHA. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Banks, and it is a privilege to appear before you and the committee today, and we look forward to working with you and your staff over the next 5 years during the term of our monitorship. My name is Neil Borowski, and with me is my co-monitor, Matt Cipolla, and we were appointed, as you noted, back in February of this year, at the end of February, to serve this term. Just wanted to start by giving you a little bit of background on us. Matt and I are partners at Jenner & Block law firm, where we are co-chairs of the firm's monitorship practice group. We have a lot of experience doing monitorships. We've been appointed to be monitor by the United States Department of Justice, by U.S. attorneys' offices, and also the New York State Department of Financial Services. We've monitored a variety of different types of institutions, including Credit Suisse, the financial services giant, the United Auto Workers Union, and the mining and trading company Glencore. For me, oversight began back in 2008 when I was appointed and confirmed as the first Special Inspector General for the Troubled Asset Relief Program, the TARP, the $700 billion bank bailout that occurred to the financial industry during the financial crisis. In August of this year, we issued our first report for the NYCHA monitorship. This report gives an overall overview of NYCHA's performance and also reflects our overall approach to the monitorship and the core values that we intend to prioritize over the next 5 years. We'd like to briefly use the rest of our testimony to summarize those values and what we think our priorities will be going forward. And for that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Matt Cipolla.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'll focus on the core values first. The first one is transparency. Our goal for our reports is to give the public and other stakeholders, such as you in this committee, a one-stop shop to see exactly how NYCHA is progressing in meeting the goals that it committed to meeting in the HUD agreement. Our August report describes a mixed bag, including certain commitments like addressing overall pest populations or heat failures in individual apartments that previously were not tracked or measured during the agreement's first 5 years. The report also describes certain areas in which NYCHA has made progress, such as its success in identifying and remediating lead paint in more than 10,000 apartments. But in too many areas, NYCHA continues to struggle, including in its slow response times to make repairs, particularly when it comes to basic livability areas such as mold and leaks. Our second core value is accountability. Any future progress is going to demand that shortfalls and failures be identified and remedied. In our August report, we identified where NYCHA is falling short in meeting its sacred obligation to assure the safe and healthy living standards set forth in the HUD agreement for its residents. And we have proposed a series of priorities for NYCHA to focus on to address these failures. In our future reporting, we will continue to closely monitor progress to ensure that NYCHA is held accountable when it fails, and we will hold ourselves to that same standard. And third, and echoing your words, Chairman, we focus on the residents. Far too often, we've heard from you, from residents, and other stakeholders that they feel like residents and their concerns have not been adequately heard. We've heard that although NYCHA has made significant progress in certain areas under the agreement, its progress has not been felt by NYCHA residents, too many of whom continue to live in apartments with mold, leaks, and pests, or who have to live with elevators that don't work, or in apartments that are too cold in the winter. We have committed to residents to always view this monitorship through their eyes, understanding that for a resident, it doesn't matter if a boiler is replaced if their own individual apartment remains cold, or for a mobility impaired resident, although they may appreciate that the response time to fix a broken elevator has shortened, it's cold comfort if they're unable to get in or out of their apartment more than 12 times a year because of repeated elevator breakdowns. Of course, our focus on residents would not be possible without their participation. For that, we want to recognize and thank the residents and resident leaders who have met with us, sent us emails, hosted our visits, attended our town hall, and called us to share their stories and experiences with NYCHA. Many of them have met with us at their developments, facilitated meetings with other residents, and showed us firsthand the state of their apartments. And we also want to make sure to thank NYCHA for their open, honest, and collaborative approach that they've shown us since day one. Now I'll talk briefly about some of our priorities based on what we found in our initial report. As the end of the 6th year of the monitorship approaches in January, we look forward to working with NYCHA as it sets priorities for the coming year, and our work has identified several key areas where we believe progress is particularly urgent. The first is resident communication. Too often, a repair is not made because either NYCHA does not show up for a scheduled repair or because a resident was not adequately informed of the appointment is not home. This has to be fixed. Second is repair times. NYCHA residents often face long wait times for repair work due to a significant backlog of hundreds of thousands of work orders. The third is performance. We have to raise the bar for the performance of NYCHA personnel agency-wide and ensure accountability for that performance. And the fourth is capital. The more quickly the capital funds can be deployed to install new elevators, to replace plumbing lines, or to deploy new boilers, the better position NYCHA will be to meet its various HUD agreement requirements and improve the lives of residents. We will continue to work on these and other issues in the years to come. We thank you for having us today, and we look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you for your statements. I want to recognize we have a council member Avelas who's present with us. And I'm going to begin my round of questions, and then I'll turn it over to some of my members who may have questions. As of today, what is your assessment on how well positioned NYCHA is to come into compliance with the terms of the HUD agreements, or the HUD agreement?
I think it's, you probably have to put it in, oh, Santa Claus is here. I think you probably have to put it into sort of a couple different categories. I think there's some areas where NYCHA is very well positioned to meet its obligations, others where it is not, and probably a third area which we just don't know. So just to give you some examples, NYCHA is doing a remarkable job in its lead abatement. As Matt mentioned, they've cleared 10,000 apartments, which is a really important milestone, and are on track to meeting the agreement's obligations to abate all lead in all apartments within the time frame set forth. NYCHA is a little behind in some of the other big capital projects like elevator replacement and boiler replacement, but they're going to get it done. It's going to happen within the term of our monitorship for sure. Also in areas, assuming that there is continued investment in some of the metrics that we describe in our report, response times for certain areas continue to improve year on year, and we feel like with the right amount of attention and support, NYCHA is going to fulfill its obligations in those areas, again, assuming that everything stays the course.
Are there specific goals that you are more focused on after your first report because where NYCHA is in terms of the compliance?
There's certain areas of focus for sure. I would sort of split them into two areas, some of the operations areas, and then some of them in more of the organizational change areas. So from the operations areas, there are several really key metrics that have not yet been measured and reported out, and that's going to be one of our areas of focus in the next year. So, for example, NYCHA has done a commendable job when dealing with heat outages in buildings. So when a boiler goes down and an entire, heat is lost to an entire building, NYCHA has had solid response times and improvement in that. But they haven't been measuring and we haven't been reporting on what happens to individual apartments. Right. So for example, a boiler goes out, right, that's going to impact a whole bunch of apartments. A radiator goes out, that's only going to impact one apartment. But the agreement foresees and includes metrics and performance goals to deal with individual apartments as well. So that's an example of one of the areas that we're currently working with NYCHA right now to develop those metrics and to be able to measure them, and then we'll be able to see how they're doing and to help them improve. On the organizational change side, these are some of the bigger cross-cutting issues that aren't going to get solved in a day. And as Matt mentioned during his testimony, these are areas like resident communication, like pushing forward to putting more responsibility into the developments through the neighborhood model, holding its employees accountable through things like performance reviews. Those are sort of bigger picture areas that NYCHA recognizes has to improve, that we're really going to focus on working with them. So basically those are the things that don't impact just heat or just plumbing or just lead or just pests, but when they're improved, NYCHA's numbers will improve across the board.
Let me recognize present with us is Councilman Chiose and Councilmember Sanchez.
Councilmember Claus today.
Oh, Councilmember Claus. I'll stand corrected. While we are going to talk to NYCHA about some of the more numerical metrics and the agreement requires, what does NYCHA have to do with the organizational level to meet the requirements of the agreement?
It really is along the lines of what I was talking about before, and I'll go into a little bit more detail with your question. So, like some of the big cross-cutting organizational changes, if I could use an anecdote, to sort of lay out where our thinking is on this. One of the things that we do is we have several experts who work with NYCHA frequently, and one of our pest experts will shadow NYCHA exterminators when they go out and do their work. And one of his recent reports to us, he went out with a NYCHA exterminator, and the exterminator was supposed to have 6 apartments they were supposed to treat that day. And he was only able to get into 1 because the other 5, no one was home when he knocked. The same expert has seen NYCHA exterminators sometimes not understand or be properly trained and therefore not implement the most effective pest control, which means inevitably it's not going to treat the problem, and that's going to require more resources for a follow-up visit. Or sometimes the person is well trained but just doesn't do a good job. And I use this anecdote because I think it points to where the areas of focus need to be. Resident communication and having the infrastructure and technological capability to have more effective resident communication is just of paramount importance. From the resident's perspective, which is, as Matt noted, is really a hallmark of what we're doing, there is nothing that we hear more in the sense of not just despair, but of humiliation. Really deep emotional understanding, and it's understandable. If you take a day off from work because you think your apartment's going to get repaired and you lose a day of pay, and NYCHA doesn't show up because of a communication snafu, it's devastating for the resident, but it's also a tremendous loss of resources for NYCHA. They're paying this exterminator to do that work, and they can't get in to do their job. So that's one area. Training. You have to have adequate training so that when you make the visit and get into the apartment, you don't have to go back to refix or retreat something. So that's really important organizational change. Excuse me. And then accountability. NYCHA has to be in a position where it can clearly and easily identify its low performers and either get them the training they need or get them the discipline that they need so that they can adequately serve the residents and get the job done. So those are some of the big cross-cutting areas, and I would just add to that, keeping to push forward with the neighborhood model, which is moving more decentralized control of development so that the people who are in the development, running the development, have more control over their development and can be quicker and more reactive to respond to residents' needs. I would say those are the areas, probably organizational-wise, that we're most focused on.
Thank you. In your first report, you say that the lack of funding is often pointed at as the main challenge facing NYCHA, but that NYCHA can make up for the change in funding through organizational and efficiency improvements. While I do think that NYCHA has been underfunded by all levels of government, and we should dictate more funds to NYCHA, can you give us one or two examples of the type of inefficiencies that you think NYCHA can take advantage of?
Sure, and I want to say how much we agree with you, Chairman. Like, to say that NYCHA can become more efficient is not to in any way take away from the fact, the desperate need for additional capital funding, right? These buildings are way past their use-by date, and there's, a lot more can be done within the existing budget, but the existing budget will never be enough to get the level of that is necessary and that the residents deserve. So we agree with that. But one example I would say is the one I just used, where if someone is going to go out on their day and to do a number of repairs,
right,
and they can only get in one out of 6, well, gee, if you get them 2 out of 6, you just doubled their productivity. If they can get into 3 out of 6 apartments, you've tripled it. And so these are the types of things that we're looking at. We've had anecdotal evidence of workers who aren't showing up to a job or not working a full day or aren't performing at the level that's necessary. Again, if you can get the most out of the workers and employees, so that that too will create more efficiencies within the existing budget. I think those are the types of things. And then the investment in IT, right? Because the IT reform, whether it comes to resident communication, whether it comes to fully automating some of the behind-the-scenes work and paperwork, that's also going to create more efficiency. You're going to get more bang for your buck. I think those are some of the areas that we're focused on.
But you would agree that there's been scenarios or situations where residents have taken off from work and there's been a no-show by NYCHA.
Absolutely, it is a recurring problem that we hear
Constantly, yes.
Anecdotally, it is something that there are certain things that when we meet with residents and talk to residents that always come up. And in fact, we were actually visiting development, and I think it was the vice president of the tenant association we were meeting with. She had taken the day off from work, and for a leaky, had a leak underneath her sink, and as we were meeting with the property manager, she mentions, "Yeah, I took off from work today, and no one ever showed." And like so we witnessed it. Matt and I witnessed it that day. It is a recurring problem. We're going to work with NYCHA. We're talking about doing analytics so we can get a true understanding of the scope of the problem And this is a problem that we're going to work with NYCHA to solve. NYCHA wants to solve it. This is not, and just to be very clear, and Matt mentioned this, NYCHA has been incredibly cooperative with us. We do truly believe that the senior management there wants to solve these problems, right? It's not a question of negligence or lack of commitment. And we believe we will get this solved with them because
I would hope so. The monitor is tasked to assist NYCHA to seek regulatory relief from HUD. The City of New York, the State of New York. Has NYCHA identified or flagged regulations they need relief from?
So yes, there is one I can think of. So in performing maintenance work that may disturb lead paint, New York City law allows for the use of a special type of paper that sort of seals off the work area to make sure that the resident is not exposed to the potential lead hazard, and the work can continue, but the resident doesn't have to vacate the apartment. HUD regulations don't allow the use of that. And so we have had discussions with NYCHA, with our lead expert, with HUD about potentially getting some relief there because it would allow NYCHA to perform the work less expensively, relieve the residents from having to vacate their apartments, but still maintain safety for everyone. And I just want to be clear that doesn't apply to abatement. Abatement work still would require the resident to leave.
Well, how does these regulations, do they impede NYCHA?
Well, they certainly can slow work, right? Understandably, folks don't want to leave their apartments. It may lead people to not seek repairs that might cause them to have to leave. And so if we can make sure that we work out a solution that's acceptable to HUD and safe for everyone, we think that could be a potential benefit, not just to residents, but to NYCHA as well.
Okay. What support do you think NYCHA needs from the city, state, and federal government to accomplish the goals set forth by the agreement?
I think first and foremost would be, it obviously is as much financial support as they can receive. Again, we're going to work with NYCHA, and NYCHA's committed to working with us to squeeze as much juice out of the lemon as possible.
Right.
But when you're talking about capital shortfalls in the tens of billions of dollars, it's an underfunded, and this decades of disinvestment are felt.
Do you have the exact number of the capital shortfall?
We do not.
Because I've heard different numbers.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we hope to bring to the table is that there has been, and we've heard this as well, some amount of skepticism surrounding some of these numbers, right? Whether they're inflated or too small or too big, and whether they're necessary if you can have the type of efficiency gains. Is NYCHA in a position to deploy that capital in a timely and efficient and effective manner? We've heard all of those questions, and one of the things that we're going to try to do and seek to do is to answer those questions. And so if we're currently doing a review of, for example, of how NYCHA receives and spends the city capital, and to see if there's any areas that we can improve the efficiency and make it a better process and a process that moves more quickly. That'll be one of the things that we do so that we can answer those questions when people have them. Same thing with efficiency. If NYCHA can, a question of how much more resources NYCHA needs is against where it is today, but what would it be versus a NYCHA that is operating at peak efficiency and is making the most out of every penny that it has? Those types of things, those questions, we think will be really important to answer so that we can better answer your question and the question that so many of people who want to support NYCHA but do have some of these concerns, we want to support those asking those questions to get those answers.
Before we proceed, we've been joined by Councilmember Brewer and Councilmember Bottcher. Could you share what are some of the potential roadblocks that you foresee for NYCHA when it comes to the HUD agreement?
Sure. So Neil mentioned one of them, which is going to be IT. So, NYCHA uses a very complex, older, highly customized IT system for its work orders. And so it's gotten a lot of value out of it. It works well with it. They've given us access to it. But at this point, further customization and further upgrades are going to require resources, time, and attention. And so some of the work that we aim to do that's tied to that can sometimes be delayed or require further work because of those IT limitations.
And how often do you normally meet with the NYCHA team or NYCHA representatives?
So we have meetings every day or nearly every day.
Okay.
And certainly our team every day. It's been, as Neil said, very open and collaborative. NYCHA has a monitor liaison who we work with as a dedicated resource, but we interact directly with members of NYCHA senior leadership, the neighborhood administrators, borough VPs, caretakers, supers, really every level, and everyone has been open to meeting with us, we think honest in their feedback, and it's been a tremendous value to us.
And you did state earlier that you are constantly meeting or having conversations with the tenant leadership?
Yes, so we have a variety of mechanisms for residents, both in leadership and outside of leadership, to interact with us. We have a website, nychamonitor.com. We have an email address and phone number. We have a community advisory committee. We have a series of town halls. We individually, Neil and I meet with resident leaders at developments, and they often introduce us to other members of their resident leadership and also people outside of leadership. So there's a variety of means, and one of our goals, and certainly we want to continue to get better at this, is to make sure that everyone who wants to be heard is heard.
And I just want to say that the support from the residents has just been tremendous. Like, this report reflects so much of the time that residents have taken out of their lives to meet with us and share with us their concerns, and it has as strong of influence on what we're doing as anything else. And so we just want to really express our deep appreciation for those residents leaders who take out a lot of time to work with us and help us do our job.
And what has been your interaction with or what is your interaction with the RAD PAC converted developments as far as their tenant leadership?
Sure. So the agreement has specific provisions for our oversight of the developments that go RAD PAC'd. They're primarily in the areas of elevators, heat, and lead. And there's certain metrics that NYCHA has to hit in terms of updating, for example, boilers. I think it's 200. NYCHA is on track for, or has already completed, the boiler and elevator, and we're in the process of verifying that. So our teams that go to each development and do the type of monitoring and investigative work that's so important to get everyone the facts that they need are verifying that those metrics have been met. And then in terms of the lead, also will be going to those developments to verify that the lead abatement not only has been completed, but is being completed in a legally compliant manner.
So what has been your findings thus far in your interactions with those particular TA leaders? Can you give us some insight?
We've not had extensive contact with the TA leaders in the RAD PACT, primarily because our role is I mean, we would, obviously, but
Are you planning on?
Our role is very limited in RAD PACT, so it really is limited to making, as Matt said, it's making sure that the elevators that are specified in the agreement have been done, making sure the boilers.
So it's more compliance.
It's really compliance in a couple of narrow areas, and so we're not out there doing the type of inspections, the type of interaction that we do with the non-RAD Pact developments, because
But
our oversight is so limited.
Okay, but I get the compliance aspect, but as far as it being comprehensive, the question more pointed is: are you speaking to residents of the RAD packs?
We're not having the same level of interaction, no. I mean, it's to be honest, it's more passive. So if residents reached out to us, we would, of course, talk to them. But the proactive efforts that we were talking about, as far as, you know, doing a town hall or, you know, going to visit a development, we're not doing that in the RAD Pact, again, because our oversight there is very narrow and pretty.
Well, with your limited scope of oversight, would you consider doing some degree of a town hall or deeper dive into the RAD Pack conversions? With your limited, narrow scope?
It would be very, I mean, just to be honest, it would be very challenging in a world of limited resources to expend our resources where, again, like, you know, you talk about issues like work order reform, you know, are tenants getting their apartments repaired on time? What is the response for, you know, for potential pest infestation, potential mold infestation? We really have, you know, which is one of the reasons why we engage with this tenant engagement, is to understand those problems. We have zero oversight over what happens with respect to those issues in those buildings. And so we can certainly take it under consideration, but they're really outside of the agreement.
Right.
99% of the issues, and you know, I think from a resource allocation, we would rather do a town hall to residents where we can hopefully have a positive impact on their experience, whereas at a RAD Pact, we just don't have that oversight and that ability, to be honest.
Well,
I don't want to make a full.
No, and I hear you, but it's also an obligation by nature to provide oversight over these particular RAD Pack conversions. Am I correct?
Yes. And in those areas where our oversight overlaps, again, we're
Yeah.
doing that, but it's a very narrow.
And you said it's narrow to elevators, heat, and lead abatement.
That's
Yes, that's right.
Okay. All right. I'll come back with questions. We have Council Member Mealy, who's actually on virtual, and I'm now going to proceed with allowing questions from members, and we'll have Council Member Aviles start that round.
Hello, good afternoon, I think. Good to see you all. I guess I was curious about a couple of things. In terms of, you mentioned, I know you have a community advisory board, and thank you for the invitations to attend those, and the individual outreach that you all do. Have you all considered potentially inviting CCOP resident members of the NYCHA board and other kind of resident bodies to meet together to discuss issues around NYCHA? Because I've discovered they never have actually sat in rooms together. They're resident bodies that are very separated and doing independent conversations.
We certainly will consider that. I think, you know, one of the things that, to be clear, we're starting out, and we don't have, you know, we don't have all the good ideas, and so, you know, we welcome that type of input, and we'll certainly, you know, consider it. And we certainly, if we're not inviting the board to our you know, our CAC meetings, we should be. I think that's a really good suggestion, and any way we can facilitate that type of resident NYCHA interaction is helpful. So, for example, I think it was last week, we did a town hall out in the Rockaways, and NYCHA came, both the local property management as well as Central, some of the folks who are here today, and it was just, you know, it was great bringing everyone together with us, and, you know, from what we heard, and it was a very spirited meeting, to be clear, and understandably, you know, residents were very angry, and expressed that, but in the aftermath of that meeting, you know, so many residents came up to us and really appreciated the opportunity, not just to talk to us. I mean, frankly, I think we were a little bit of a sideshow, but to be able to communicate directly with with NYCHA management as well as the people in their property. So I think that's a fantastic idea, and we're going to look to continue to expand those types of meetings. I think you're right, it's impactful.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much work to be done, and NYCHA residents are nothing but spirited and resilient and deeply committed to making sure they live in dignified conditions. In terms of the mold and leaks area, what are the particular strategies that you're all going to try to pursue to get NYCHA to improve their metrics on compliance there?
Well, one of the key areas, frankly, is that there's even some of these mold and leak metrics that are not yet being measured. And so one of them, for example, is an obligation to reduce standing water within 48 hours. And so one of the first things that we did was taking a look at all the agreement metrics, and in particular seeing those that are included in the agreement but have not yet been measured and reported. And that was one that jumped out at us. And so as we dug into it, the response was, the reason why it's not being measured is there's a standard protocol for leaks that has been under development but not yet rolled out. And that's basically the guidebook for those making repairs on leaks, so they know exactly what to do. What are the standard practices and procedures for addressing that? And once that is launched and it is automated, then you can capture data to measure and report out on standing water. So that's a really important area to increase NYCHA's performance, is getting that SP rolled out, and then we're going to have more data to be able to measure and then remediate. I think the second key area that we've seen so far is training. Training is really, really important in mold remediation, and it's an area that we think there could be significant improvement. And training is such a force multiplier when you talk about resources. And for a little bit of what I was discussing earlier, if NYCHA deploys one of its precious resources, one of its workers, to go out and clean up mold, and it's not done well or effectively or completely, you've just wasted a resource because somebody else is going to have to come back and fix it. And this, NYCHA has made improvements here, to be clear, but there's a lot of runway here for better improvements and better performance by NYCHA staff, particularly when it comes to training, that I think can help support these numbers.
In terms of, thank you for that. Just to take one quick step backwards, and apologies if I missed it in your earlier testimony. How many staff does the monitor employ?
You know what? I don't have so maybe I'll just take a step back and talk about our structure.
Yeah, that would be great.
So we're a law firm, and we have our staff, I would guess, is around 20 attorneys, 15, 20?
25.
25 attorneys who are working on this matter. We also work with various vendors. We have Turner and Townsend and Quadell, and I don't have those precise numbers. Do you have a sense, Matt?
Quadell's about 15 or 20, and I think Turner and Townsend's about the same number. And what we've tried to do is bring in, people who are experts at monitoring and investigating, because we need to, for our work, to bring in trust. We've tried to bring in experts in public housing and inspections, because we want to make sure that the work we're doing is accurately reporting on HUD regulations and all the things that NYCHA needs to be doing. We've brought in experts in capital, because also we need to be making sure that the capital funds are being deployed well. And then more part-time experts, but who we consult when we need something like advice on pest management or lead abatement or some of the more highly technical matters. So a very core goal of ours is bring in the best people that we can, because this should be done by people who are really experts, because that's what it's going to take to get the job done.
But we'll get you the precise numbers after this hearing, if that's okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We'll appreciate that, especially since you're new, and I'd love to understand where you expect to maybe build out. And I suppose as you're building out your plan, that will evolve. So going right back to another question, Chair, this will be my last one. So I represent a development in Red Hook, which is the second largest NYCHA development in New York City. And it is one of the, I forget how many, that has undergone a Sandy resiliency construction project. In fact, there was a City Limits article that came out, I think, yesterday about the travails of these major resiliency projects, $500 million project 12 years later. Definitely progress and a lot of complications, I think things people could not anticipate, but really profound frustration by the residents of the conditions that they've been living in. That are everything from just eating dust all day because there's mountains of soil everywhere to having nowhere to go, and a phone full of rats actually climbing chain link fence, which I never knew actually happened. We're all working through them. I guess what I was curious about is, given the pillar areas for the monitor, how does the monitor handle the overlay of a project of this kind of magnitude in their kind of investigation and monitoring?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think fits in with one of our values, which is not to look at things as pillars as much as possible. I mean, obviously, it's an important thing to be able to tell you the answer for a heat metric, what is it? But for these types of issues, like these Sandy projects or some of the things Neil mentioned, you have to look at it broader than that. So when we do this type of work, one of the value adds that we're trying to bring is looking at the data across the various areas to make sure that if it's having an impact on pests, we're not looking at pests in isolation, we're also looking at how the capital is being deployed and is it on schedule. We're also looking at, whether exterior work is being done for, lead abatement or pest management. But the point is we want to bring all of those things together, and that is a core value for us.
There's no distinguishing between, I guess, the federal funding stream work that is being deployed, let's say, on the campus, and what NYCHA and what is in NYCHA's pipeline. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, the monitor will be looking at all of those things as a collective.
Yeah, we're not thinking about where is the source of funding to improve a particular metric. We're looking at, is the metric improving or not?
Right, and the accountability, though, right, is, well, it's the contractor, it's not NYCHA. And I think that's a place where we could drill down on.
Yes, I think, it is NYCHA's, of course, its responsibility to oversee its contractors. And so there is no, much like it is our responsibility to oversee our vendors. And when one of our vendors makes a mistake, it is the exact same thing as if Matt or I personally make the mistake, and I think NYCHA understands that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We've been joined also by Councilmember Salamanca virtually, and we'll now allow Councilmember Chiose Claus to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here today to testify for us. I wanted to ask specific programmatic questions. I know that HUD's main responsibility is infrastructural upgrades. However, I have heard from several TA presidents within my district. Do want to shout out Ms. Adorn, as well as Ms. Johnson from both Sumner and Tompkins houses. Obviously, the infrastructural upgrades and lack of funding for infrastructure is something that we really do appreciate from the monitor. But a concern that they raised is some of the programs that they have within their developments, as well as the various different developments in my district, whether it's funding for TA meetings, family days, just any type of senior programs, youth programs that go into their developments. They were wondering if the federal monitor or the federal government in general is doing anything in that regard, whether it's advocacy for more funding in those programs, whether it's assessing the funding that already exists for those programs. I think that's something that wanted to be addressed during this hearing.
Yes, so that that is an area that's outside of our jurisdiction as defined by the agreement. But what I would really strongly encourage tenant association leaders or frankly any resident to still contact us. And so even if we can't, even though it's not within our jurisdiction and we don't have a role in it under the terms of the agreement, we'll find the right person. And so, and we do a lot of that facilitation of making sure that the person with an issue or a concern can find the right person at NYCHA or elsewhere potentially here, so that their voice can be heard. So even if we can't deal with it because it's not, we just have no oversight or impact on it, we do try to help find the resident to the right person to be it so that they could be heard.
I do hear and appreciate that, and I definitely will recommend to my constituents who reside in NYCHA, can I have a couple more minutes?
You may.
Reside in NYCHA, to reach out to the monitor when they have questions there. I think some of these TAs have frustrations with sometimes how slow the money can get to them for these programs. And I guess I have a two-part question now. The first part is, why is it maybe outside of the jurisdiction of the monitor to assess the funding for these programs? And two, I think it's equally as important to, assess the funding, advocacy for the funding for some of these infrastructure upgrades it's as important as it is for some of these programs that take place in our developments, whether it's stronger TAs that are more willing and have more tools to interact with both you as well as NYCHA. I find them to be equally important, but I want to hear from maybe why this is not under the jurisdiction of the monitor.
Yes, and to be very clear, just because something is outside our jurisdiction doesn't mean it's not incredibly important. So,
of course.
I mean, one of the real issues that NYCHA residents are dealing with, which we hear on a regular basis, is asbestos abatement, and that's something that we have zero.
How can we change that though? How do we give you more oversight over some of these pressing problems that exist within?
So we are a creature of contract. This monitorship was created when HUD and the city and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York and NYCHA reached its settlement in 2019. And that agreement is what created this monitorship. So we're not like, sometimes they're court-appointed monitors. We serve as monitors in a number of different types of arrangements. This is truly a civil contract that was signed by these different governmental entities. And so when they did that, they said, this is what you do, monitor, and anything that they don't say this is what you do, we don't do. We don't have jurisdiction. As I said, we're not blind. We don't blind ourselves to these other issues, and they are of course impactful because they're impactful on the residents. They're impactful on the overall work that we do. But we can't. There's certain areas. The only way we can help is helping bring attention by introducing the tenant or making an inquiry, which we do. And look, we've had some real successes in certain areas where just facilitating certain meetings, and getting certain attentions to issues, even though they're arguably outside of our jurisdiction. But the only way really to change that is to change the agreement. And so the parties to the agreement, which would be the Department of Justice, HUD, the city, and NYCHA would have to reform the agreement.
Thank you so much for the time, Chair. Would love your contact after this hearing, just to see if we could coordinate some of those meetings in the future with my TAs.
We'd be happy to facilitate.
Thank you, Chair.
Now I recognize a council member. Order, guys. Order. Council member Botcher.
Hi. Question relating to elevator repair, and you may or may not have the answer to this question, but what we hear is that the issue with respect to elevator outages is not necessarily the lack of personnel to repair the elevators. It's a parts issue. Is that accurate, and what efforts are underway to ensure that this shortage of parts is addressed? And why is it that NYCHA, after all these years, doesn't have an adequate supply of parts on hand for elevator repair?
think I could tell you what NYCHA has informed us, but I think this is a question that's probably best addressed to NYCHA directly. I don't think that we've heard or found that part shortages is what's driving a lot of the elevator issues. But my understanding that to the extent that there are difficulties with respect to parts, it's because a lot of these elevators are so old and are no longer being manufactured. But NYCHA has a pretty robust program of salvaging its elevators, of fabricating parts. But I think the next panel could probably better address your question. To us, one of the areas where we think that the elevator performance can be improved is by expanding preventative maintenance. NYCHA has done some pilots of preventative maintenance where instead of just repairing broken elevators, right, you go with the elevators that are still working and doing the necessary work to make sure that they don't go out of service. But that's not that is not a parts-driven challenge. That is a resource-driven challenge. Right? If you just need more people to do that than NYCHA can currently afford. But to its credit, it is seeking to expand that program in the next year. It's a priority that we're working on. And I think that will be, elevator replacement is ultimately the solution, right? Because these are old, out-of-date elevators. But in the meantime, until that capital comes in and that could be done, really that type of maintenance is really important. But on the parts, I'm not aware of the issue, but I think it's important to address that to NYCHA directly. They can give you some more insight on that.
Batcha, are you done? I guess so. So now we're going to move to Council Member Brewer.
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, I concur with you. The residents are wonderful, and I think NYCHA is trying. It's just really rough. I'm now swamped. Every tenant leader in Manhattan is watching this hearing, just so you know, and they all want to meet with you. Just throwing that out, right? 10, 15 emails right here.
We never say no.
Okay, well, they're all going to be organizing to talk to you. So I know, because I knew your previous monitor, and so I have a sense of where you are in terms of what you can and cannot do. So I'm going to try to just talk about some things that hopefully fit into that. One of them is just the vacant apartments. There's thousands of vacant apartments, and some of them maybe need too much, but how do we, that's question number one, because they do have pests, they do have mold, they do have all these things in them. So I want to know what, if anything, we can do about them. I have no idea. I know one building, I have a lot of, on the Upper West Side, a lot of NYCHA. One complex has 40. The management told me 40 vacant apartments. And I don't know how many citywide, 6,000? That's the number I've heard. Second question is, when people, I am a strong believer in moving homeless families into the building. Again, how does this fit into your concern? Is sometimes they don't have any services. They just come in without support. Social services is not on your list, but support so that that family operates in a way that is supportive of the other families. And I don't want to chastise people who are homeless. Many of them are wonderful, but it's not easy to bring in and to this complex. So there are a lot of issues that fit into your list that family experiences, and so that's the question that I think should at least be on your agenda. The other thing is just trash. Oh my gosh. I don't know, sometimes there's no place to place it inside the building. It ends up on the street, and then all the other neighbors complain, as you can imagine, and that brings in your pests and all your other issues. So I could go on, but those are the, I want to know, have a long list, but those seem to fit in. So are you dealing with any of those topics?
I think, just to start with the last one on waste management and trash, that is very much an area of focus. One of the things that NYCHA is working on, and again, we were speaking earlier, my colleague was talking about IT roadblocks and overcoming.
I heard that, yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, and so I think that's an area where we're really working with NYCHA is, it's in the process of launching a inspections program to deal with identifying when trash and other waste issues are there, and then automating a response. So it automates a work order, and so it can be promptly addressed. Trying to bring a little bit of the 21st century into addressing these issues. I think the other problem that we've heard anecdotally, especially, talking to tenant leaders about trash, is, part of it is NYCHA being slow sometimes to clean it up, but also part of it is tenant-driven. And I think,
Right.
the issues revolving lease enforcement and, addressing the core issues of certain tenants who are not respectful of their neighbors, or of the people working at the developments, it is a thornier and difficult problem
It is very difficult.
that we are just starting to try to wrap
Okay.
our arms around and work with NYCHA to address. But it is something that, progress has to be made because
Okay.
it's not safe, right? I mean, it does frustrate the ability to manage the pest populations
Right.
and just basic livability, right?
Right.
So-
I'm very aware of the problem. Solutions are more challenging. The chutes are too small. That's the other issue. I could go on and on. I've been doing this work for a very long time. So the chutes are too long. Manhattan is particularly difficult because there's very little outside space compared to other developments that have big campuses, et cetera, et cetera. So I would love to work with you on it, but I can say, and then the Teamsters are wonderful. You've got to work with them also. That's who puts it out. So, okay, so solutions are hard to come by, but we should definitely work on it.
Yes, I was just going to say, we would really welcome input from you and your staff on any ideas that you have that we can, bring to NYCHA and work with
Okay.
NYCHA. Because
How
again,
about
we're all swimming in the same direction on this one.
Okay.
This is
The
something that needs to
vacant
be solved.
apartments, which also produce some of your challenges. What are you doing about them?
Currently, we're not doing anything about them, but we will, again, this is an issue that we will take a close look to see how it impacts our work, whether or not there is a jurisdictional hook for us there.
Okay, the only reason I think, because I assume they have mold in some cases, I know they do, in fact, and they definitely have pests. Because when you leave an apartment vacant for, I don't know, 5 years, let's say, you know who's gonna move in.
Yeah. Yeah, it has not yet been an area of our focus, but we thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay, and then I guess stretch is families who move in who don't have enough support. When I mean social service, that's not your area, I got it, I know, but the other issue that you mentioned about just people knowing what to do, that is part of your problem. So it's something to think about, to put on a side list, because it's not happening now. And I'm a big supporter of NYCHA staff. I think Brian Honan walks on water, and also the resident leaders, but it's tough. And so you have a hard job. I appreciate being here, but I hope you look a little bit bigger than, or larger than some of the topics, because they all impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just to follow up, vacancies.
It's just not something that we focused on, but it's now been raised, and we'll take a look at it to see if there is a jurisdictional overlap or hook.
Please.
I mean, to your point, if it is we'll talk to our pest experts in particular. For example, if vacant apartments are spreading or responsible for increasing a pest infestation, that would obviously be something very much within our area of concern. If there's leaking pipes that are going unattended in a vacant apartment that's impacting other apartments, that would very much be in our area of concern. So again, I thank you for bringing this to our attention. It's not an area that we've focused on before, but that's why we like having these hearings, because we don't have a monopoly on good ideas, and we really do appreciate the opportunity of hearing from folks who frankly have been focused on working on this for a lot longer than we have. So thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget about Manhattan.
Getting back to,
It's my home, so I can't.
thank you, Councilmember Brewer. Getting back to RADPAC, and I know you said you have a limited jurisdiction over the RADPAC converted developments. Will you take note of the conditions of the RADPAC developments during your tenure as a monitor?
Part of the work that we're doing in inspecting these and verifying what is going on in the RADPAC, so we're sending people out to these developments. I think it's completely understandable that since they're going, to keep their eyes open, and we can ask our inspectors to sort of report back on what they're seeing. And so I think that's an area where we can keep some tabs on the RADPAC. Again, they don't have, if they're going to check that a boiler is there, they don't have to blind themselves to everything else that's going around. So we'll take that feedback of having a heightened sense of awareness of what's going on, and we can let you know what we're seeing.
And if residents are bringing issues to you about the RADPAC conversions, How are you handling those? What are you just telling them we have no jurisdiction over them?
I want to get back to you on this. I'm not aware of a lot of resident complaints or concerns of being directed towards us in those developments.
Not directed towards you.
What's that? So I need to get back to you to answer that question of what, I don't, we never ignore a resident. We never tell a resident, your concern is outside of our jurisdiction and therefore
Right.
go find your own way. You know, if it's not something that we can address, we pass it off to the right place, whether that's at NYCHA or wherever. But I don't have any specific information for you right now. Because I'm just not aware of what.
So in your narrow scope of elevators, heat, lead, if a resident comes to you and makes a complaint, a resident that resides in a RAD Pack, makes a complaint about installation of an elevator, it being too small, the elevator not having a window when it had a window while it was under NYCHA, how would you address that?
I think we would go back, so in two ways, right? So the first, going to your point, is this an issue that is covered in the agreement, right? So what is NYCHA's responsibility with respect to elevators that are part of developments that go RAD-packed? Check that obligation, check our oversight of that obligation, see whether that issue is within the terms of the agreement and therefore part of our oversight. If the answer is yes, then we would proceed as with any tenant complaint of something that's within our oversight. If it's not inside our oversight, we would find the right person to address that issue too. Whether that's probably someone at NYCHA, maybe it's someone at the management company that's overseeing it, and then we would pass that information off, and then typically we would get an update from the resident as to whether that was a successful or not successful. But that's basically what we do. If we can't help, we try to get help.
Right. So your role would be to be a referee in a sense, or in a situation like that, how, I mean, really what I want to get to is exactly what role will you play in these situations where there are constant issues coming up, and where there are constant complaints of the lack thereof of oversight by NYCHA when it comes to the RAD packs.
So I think I can give it a more specific example. So we did have a resident association raise an issue that ultimately related to security, and they felt like the more neighborhood and development level NYCHA employees were not being responsive to their concerns. And the help that we were able to provide was bringing together the resident association leaders and more senior leadership at NYCHA to try to make sure that they have the access that they needed to get that to be heard. And so it's going to depend on the issue, obviously, but oftentimes it's facilitating those types of communications and that type of attention.
So more conduit than referee.
More conduit than referee.
Referee,
Okay.
But I would say, Chairman, our experience is, and Matt just gave an example, is that the NYCHA leadership is responsive. And so if we got, for example, a series of complaints, again, we wouldn't ignore them, right? If there were consistent complaints all around a certain issue, even if it's an issue outside of our jurisdiction, we would make NYCHA leadership aware, hey, we think there's a real problem over here, and bring it to their attention. And our experience, and again, it's limited because we've only been on the job for almost 8 months now, is that they're responsive. They don't say, hey, monitor, keep your nose out of this. This is not having to do with your, we've never got, and again, I just want to say, they've been really cooperative, collaborative, and problem solving. And so I would anticipate if something like this happened, we would be a conduit, but I would also expect that to the extent NYCHA has anything that it can do in that situation, that it would address the problem.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that the monitor, that you're taking note of what's being, some of the issues and complaints that are coming from the RAD-PAC conversions, which has been an issue of contention throughout the entire city. So thank you so much. That's the nature and extent of my questions, and the members of the committee, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll proceed to the next panel of NYCHA. Swear them in.
So if you both could raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
Yes.
I believe the PowerPoint should be up. Yep. You may proceed.
Okay.
You may proceed.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Chair Banks, members of the Committee on Public Housing, other distinguished members of the City Council, NYCHA residents, community advocates, members of the public, good afternoon. I'm Brad Greenberg. I'm NYCHA's Chief Compliance Officer, and I'm very pleased to be here and joined by Chief Operating Officer Eva Trimble and other members of NYCHA's team. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss how NYCHA is moving forward with our partners to transform the authority and become a better landlord for the hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers we serve. I'd like to acknowledge today's testimony from Neil Borofsky and Matthew Sapola. The Jenner and Block Monitor team is an important partner, and together we're working to improve the quality of life for NYCHA families. On the history of the HUD agreement and the monitorship, NYCHA and the City of New York signed the agreement with HUD in January 2019. The agreement's overarching goal is to remedy deficient physical conditions in NYCHA properties and deliver for residents across the city. The agreement sets performance targets with specific deadlines for 7 high-priority focus areas: lead-based paint, mold, heat, elevators, inspections, pests, and waste management. The work undertaken as part of the agreement is overseen by a third-party federal monitor. We also work every day with our federal partners in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York and in the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. We have a strong and productive relationship with the monitor, characterized by robust communication and collaboration. The monitor's team participates in regular staff meetings to discuss our efforts, and NYCHA leadership speaks frequently with the monitor team. Today, I want to walk you through the agreement, give you some examples of how we have changed the way we do business to comply with federal law, and then provide you an update on the work we have been doing across the city to improve physical conditions at NYCHA properties. If we can go to the next slide. First, as you can see on this slide too, the agreement is far-reaching. It required the installation of a federal monitor, and a key early advancement at the outset of the agreement was the establishment of 3 new departments and units at NYCHA: the Compliance Department, which I lead, the Environmental Health and Safety Department, and the Quality Assurance Unit. Crucially, these new teams have established programs for monitoring NYCHA's work at its developments, making recommendations for improvements, and then providing technical assistance to the development staff to improve performance. We continue to scale up these teams while using data-centered risk assessments, sampling, and field monitoring to ensure NYCHA's compliance with all local, state, and federal regulations, as well as internal policies and procedures. We also established a department called Strategy and Innovation to track NYCHA's progress with meeting all the deadlines outlined in the HUD agreement. In support of this work, we built dashboards and other analytical reporting tools for each pillar area. They provide an array of valuable metrics that guide our efforts. When we are not meeting any of the clearly defined data-driven benchmarks, the teams responsible develop plans to address these issues. Also on this slide, you can see that the City of New York agreed to provide an additional $2.2 billion in capital funds over the first 10 years of the agreement. I'd also like to recognize our partners at the state level who have provided more than $1 billion in capital funds since the agreement was signed to help us deliver some of the capital projects I'll discuss today. As detailed on the next slide, on slide 3, as part of the HUD agreement obligation to create an organizational plan, NYCHA developed a transformation plan issued in March 2021, followed by 2 implementation plans issued in 2022 and 2023. These plans include a set of strategies to improve the resident experience and set the agency on a path to a stronger future. The plans outline changes to NYCHA's governance and leadership structure, property management systems, and central support functions. For instance, we implemented the neighborhood model, pushing resources and decision-making authority away from the central office and into 29 neighborhood offices across the city. We also overhauled our processes related to repair and work order management, janitorial work schedules and cleanliness, and lease enforcement issues at the development. At the same time, we are making new investments in staff training so we can deliver on our mission. Now I'd like to take you through some of the progress NYCHA has made since signing the HUD agreement. In order to comply with the agreement and improve performance, NYCHA has redesigned its business process so our staff use handheld devices on our work order system in each of the key areas of focus. As you can see on the next slide, on slide 4, this shows you kind of a portion of what we have built in our work order system so we can comply with federal rules around lead-based paint. NYCHA now collects data every day so we can be as protective as possible when it comes to lead-based paint in NYCHA apartments where children live or visit. Our workers' handheld devices, which you see screenshots of on the screen, include information on whether a child lives or visits the apartment where they are working, and it provides surface-by-surface testing results for that specific apartment. We've also built our system to flag apartments where lead-safe work practices are mandatory, including apartments where a child lives. If an apartment is flagged, our workers then see mandatory prompts before beginning work so they adhere to lead-safe work practice requirements when they are disturbing lead-based paint. In this process, they can review and select the components they are working on that are positive for lead. As you can see on the next slide, on slide 5, a foundation of our work has been to test more than 100 surfaces in each NYCHA apartment, beginning with apartments where children reside, so we know exactly which surfaces contain lead-based paint. This information is uploaded into our work order system in a way that is easy to understand, so our staff always has access to this critical information. Most importantly, as you can see on slide 6, on the next slide, once we have that precise surface-by-surface testing, NYCHA and its PAC partners can then abate and permanently remove lead-based paint from the surface that tested positive at 0.5 milligrams per square centimeter, which is the strictest standard in the country. To date, NYCHA and its PAC partners have delivered lead-free apartments across 100% of the apartments at Williamsburg houses and more than 87% of the apartments at Harlem River houses. These two properties were named in the original complaint filed against NYCHA. They were built in the 1930s and were the two properties with the most pervasive use of lead-based paint. NYCHA's Tempo program has also tested more than 86,000 apartments at the city's standard and determined that 48,000 apartments are negative for lead-based paint. Recently, our Tempo program hit an important milestone. We've also now abated via removal and delivered 10,000 lead-free apartments that previously tested positive in the public housing portfolio. The work to fully abate and remove lead-based paint from the NYCHA portfolio, which is unquestionably the largest residential lead-based paint abatement program ever undertaken, is happening at a fast pace. We are testing more than 700 apartments a week and abating around 400 apartments a month in our public housing portfolio. The pictures on slide 7 on the next slide show what it takes to deliver a lead-free apartment in some cases. In these cases, we are removing paint down to the substrate and then rebuilding the apartment or the component impacted. This work is critical to ensure the safety of residents and is a core obligation of the agreement. Slide 8, the next slide, is a snapshot of one portion of our dashboard to report on NYCHA's compliance with the obligation to restore heat to residents. As you can see, we have made progress each year. In the 2021-2022 heat season, we had 564 outages with an average duration of 8.99 hours. The next year, we lowered that to 384 outages with an average duration of 8.22 hours. And last heat season was our best performance yet. We had 303 outages with an average duration of 7.21 hours. Any outage is an issue, but bending this curve and ensuring we respond quickly is essential to ensure residents get the consistent heat service they deserve. Slide 9 is a snapshot of our dashboard reporting on our progress to replace more than 500 boilers across the NYCHA portfolio, which is also an agreement requirement, and it uses both our capital and PACT programs. To date, our capital team has replaced 128 boilers and forecasts that they are on pace to meet the requirement that 297 boilers be replaced by 2026. Our PACT program has already exceeded the goal to replace 200 boilers, having replaced 237 boilers across the program. Slide 10, the next slide, shows some pictures of these new boiler plants, including a new boiler plant at a PACT property, Boulevard Houses, and new boilers at NYCHA managed properties, Coney Island Houses and Cypress Hills. In many cases, these new systems are easier for our staff to manage because we also are decoupling hot water systems or providing automated controls. Regardless, we were replacing decades-old, outdated boilers with new heating equipment that provides more reliable service. Slide 11, the next slide, shows a snapshot of some visualizations we have developed to report on the agreement's requirements related to mold in residence apartments. The first graphic shows that we have, thanks to our Mold Buster standard procedure, developed with our partners in the Baez case, sustained a low reoccurrence rate, ensuring mold is not coming back to a residence apartment soon after work is initially completed. The second graphic shows we are struggling to meet the requirement to remediate mold conditions within 7 or 15 days, depending on the complexity of the case. But what it also shows when you look at the green bars, that the number of mold complaints from residents has steadily declined month over month since peaking in 2021. In 2021, we peaked at more than 1,500 mold complaints a month from residents. This year, we are steadily around 600 mold complaints per month, peaking in the more humid summer months at around 900 complaints. Again, any one complaint is a problem, and we need to continue to respond faster and more effectively every day. But bending this curve and reducing the occurrence of mold is critical to protecting residents' health. The next slide shows pictures of one of the investments we made to help bring down the number of mold complaints by reducing moisture in our buildings. Our investment in new state-of-the-art roof fans and comprehensive cleaning of the lateral ductwork for our bathroom ventilation systems using a HEPA vacuum, which eliminates the dust and debris that had collected over many decades. This program impacted more than 8,000 individual roof fans and more than 74,000 apartments with mechanical ventilation. When this work is performed, we then measure airflow in each bathroom to ensure the system is now working properly. Slide 13, the next slide, is a snapshot of our progress year over year addressing and reducing the number of elevator no-service conditions. A no-service condition is defined to include situations where a single elevator building or stair hall has no service, or all elevators in a bank are out of service. As you can see, these snapshots take data each calendar year up to October 21st and compare it year over year. In 2022, NYCHA had 13,286 no-service conditions at this point in the year, with an average duration of 4.67 hours. In 2023, NYCHA had lowered that to 11,431 no-service conditions, with an average duration that ticked up to 4.98 hours. But to date, 2024 has been our best performance yet. We've had 9,096 no-service conditions with an average duration of 4.59 hours. Though we do not exactly meet the agreement's requirements here, we are seeing steady progress reducing the occurrence of no-service conditions at NYCHA properties. As you can see on the next slide, on slide 14, we also have been replacing elevators to meet the agreement's requirements that 425 elevators be addressed through the capital and PACT programs. To date, we've replaced 141 elevators through our capital program, which is off the pace we need to hit the agreement milestone. However, we should be able to catch up and are forecasting that we will exceed the 275 target by replacing a total of 287 elevators through next year. In the PACT program, we have exceeded the obligation already to convert 150 elevators. Slide 15, the next slide, shows you some pictures of some of these elevator replacements at both PACT sites and NYCHA managed sites in Manhattan, the Bronx, and Staten Island. When we deliver new elevators, we're also replacing the outdated equipment in the motor room and installing remote monitoring, helping ensure we will be able to improve our management of these elevators in the future. Slide 16, the next slide, is a snapshot of one of the reports we have built to report on our progress meeting the pest-related obligations in the agreement. Here, we are obligated to respond to complaints from residents related to public health pest types, including rats, cockroaches, mice, and bedbugs, on very prescribed timelines. As you can see, we really struggled with the time-based requirements in 2022 and portions of 2023, but have seen dramatic improvement in the last 18 months. We now respond on average to rat complaints within 2.3 days, and for other pest types within 7.5 days. Because we have improved our use of integrated pest management techniques, we've also seen a reduction in the number of complaints from residents. The number of rat complaints in calendar year 2022 was 2,596. In 2023, it was 2,130, and so far this year, it is 1,137. The number of other pest type complaints in calendar year 2022 was more than 33,000. In 2023, it was reduced to 30,765, and so far this year, it is 21,107. Slide 17 shows pictures of some of the investments we are also making in our waste infrastructure, our interior compactors and interior compactor rooms and basements. At NYCHA, these rooms have often been a place where pests harbor because of leaks and the presence of a food source. These rooms are now being rehabilitated to prevent infestations from starting in our residential building spaces where waste is managed. As you can see on the next slide, we have a lot more work to do, and we know we need to keep making progress to improve physical conditions for residents. We need to continue to remove lead-based paint across the portfolio, deliver elevator and boiler projects, and we must deliver the other projects funded through the City Capital Action Plan. It is also critical that we push forward our work to reform the repair process at NYCHA so residents get the repairs they deserve. And we must continue to work with the Federal Monitor to ensure we comply with the provisions of the agreement that so far have been difficult to tackle. NYCHA has been serving as the most critical source of affordable housing, a platform for opportunity for countless New Yorkers over its nearly century-long history. The HUD agreement was a crucial moment in its long history, and we believe it will be a turning point for NYCHA's residents. Strengthening this vital institution so that it can serve the generations to come is at the heart of our mission. We have made progress with our transformation efforts, but there's still more work to do. NYCHA will continue moving forward, guided by the HUD agreement and together with the Monitor's team and our federal partners, driven by our shared commitment to improve the quality of life for NYCHA families. I thank you all for the opportunity to talk about this work, and thank you to our partners, including the Monitor team, HUD, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and members of the Council for your support. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brad. And now I'm going to actually yield the floor to Councilmember Brewer to start with the questions before I start mine. Councilman Brewer?
Thank you very much, and I do have a lot of respect for NYCHA, as I hope you know. I'm going to just follow, because this is about the Monitor, some of the same questions. With the trash, and the Monitor said they're looking at it, so I just wanted, you mentioned it, but it's still a big problem, and some of it is chutes, some of it is no space to put the trash, et cetera. I would just like you, because we are talking about pests and those other things. So where are we, and where do you think we're going? Then the second, with these vacant apartments. These vacant apartments are really a challenge. They're not only the mold and the other issues, but I now have all the drug dealers are in there. They're homeless in there. I mean, you need some social security numbers to see if that person really is supposed to be living in there, et cetera. So the whole, if we're going to stick with vacant and pests, then that's one thing. But just so you know, I got a whole bunch of illegal people living there in the vacant apartments. And then just the issue of, again, this is a stretch for today, but when families come in from the shelters, which I think is really important, they need services because they're not getting them. So I was just wondering if we could just focus on those three issues.
Yeah, and I'll have Eva Trimble, our Chief Operating Officer, take them. On waste management, that is a focus area in the agreement. We're obligated to inspect our properties daily in the agreement, and also containerize and store our trash in containers every day.
Easier said than done.
It's a very much easier said than done. We're making a lot of investments in our waste infrastructure to accomplish that, and we've actually made it very far on making sure we can do that. But Eva, if you want to talk about waste and vacants and...
Thank you.
Sure, and definitely would like to have any specific examples from you. You can forward them to Brian so we can follow up. But 97% of our sites are containerized, and we have already launched a team we call the scorecard team that does inspections at the property in order to see how those waste facilities are working. And so we would definitely welcome any problems that you're seeing, so we can make sure we send our scorecard there to follow up and advise.
But then what happens after the scorecard? Say you get a D. I don't know what you get.
What they do is they work with the property management team to, to fix any deficiencies they're seeing. If there's a compactor down, if there's something wrong in the waste yard, they will work with property management team, the waste management department, in coordination in order to fix those problems, to make sure that the trash stays containerized and stays off the street.
We did early on in the agreement create a waste management department that, like Eva said, does all of our compactor repairs that we can do in-house. They also bought, for the first time, NYCHA has its own trucks, so we can go do pickups, even without sanitation, which we do at some of the curbside locations. So if we can't containerize it, at least we can go pick it up and take it off the site, which has led to a lot of cleanliness improvements, especially in some sites in Brooklyn. So it's been an early thing that we did in the agreement to create that department, which has been really successful.
Okay, people, not just in NYCHA, everybody puts the garbage next to the chute, next to the container, just FYI. They do it in the street. You have a nice solar paneled, and next to it, garbage. So I'm just saying, it's a lot of education that goes with it. So you can have nice, brand new container and rats.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm just saying they still need a lot of work on trash.
So on your, to respond to your
Vacants.
vacant unit
Yeah,
question,
oh boy,
which
you
I know
gotta-
is a topic we've discussed at length over.
We have.
You know, so I'm happy to report that this year, in 2024 through September 2024, we've had a 57% increase compared to the same time last year of our number of move-ins. We've moved in 2,968. We are turning over at a clip of approximately 430 units a month. And so this has been a drastic improvement since our previous conversations.
Okay.
I know you mentioned a site probably in northern Manhattan that has significant number of vacancies. I'd like to remind you that we are preparing the St. Nicholas development for a comprehensive modernization. And as part of that project, we are holding vacants in the nearby, in the neighborhood and nearby developments in order to facilitate relocations for families and keep them in their neighborhoods. So, if you want to send me that example, I'll confirm that, but I suspect that significant number of vacancies is due to the impending relocation of St. Nick's residents as part of the comprehensive modernization program.
Okay, I have a different one, but I'll give it to you offline.
Okay.
And then what about all right, so those, when you say 50% decrease, that's huge, 2,900 move in, that's fabulous. How many do you still think are vacant? Do you have some number? It's hard to know.
Yeah, right now, as we have approximately 5,500 vacant units available. Remember, 60% of our move-ins right now are transfers. So every time we move someone, another vacant opens. So it's very hard to see a significant decrease in that number. But we have significantly increased our production on turnovers over the past year or so, and we're very proud of that. I do also want to address your point about the squatters or illegal occupants.
I got a long list right here.
And we're happy to take that list from you. Actually, we've had a great partnership with NYPD, Lieutenant Barron, and we've done over 150 activities this year, I don't know what the right word is, but where we've actually been working with NYPD to secure apartments, bring them back into NYCHA, make sure they're locked up, and remove those illegal occupants. So we're happy to take that list, check it through our system, and then work with NYPD to address this situation.
Okay, and then just finally give enough support to homeless families when they move in. That again, that's sort of beyond the monitor, but it is yours, and problems ensue, without being specific, when they don't have services. Is that something that you're working on?
We have our Family Partnerships Department is tasked with providing the
I know
types
they're
of
tasked
referrals.
doing.
So we have to, the family has to want the help and want the service. And, our property management team will call in Family Partnerships if they think a family needs help, but obviously
Okay.
the family
The only
has to want
suggestion,
that.
I hear you, the only suggestion might be to be in touch, and you have to do it in a sensitive fashion, I understand, with the tenant leadership. Because they know, when something's out of control. And again, you have to be careful, I understand, but it's something to think about because it's really making people upset in these buildings. And so you don't want to upset the residents, and also these folks need support. Again, not everybody does, but those who do, I'm making a suggestion for that because it's going to lead to some of these other issues that you're trying to address. All right, I could go on and on, but I'll stop. But I want to back you up on your RAD PAC. Oh my God, I go to so many RAD PAC meetings, and it's not perfect. It's a whole bunch of issues with the RAD PAC. Monitor can't do it, that's you. But I just want to back you up, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman.
3 hours at a RAD PAC the other day, 3 hours
I
with
could
the
imagine.
problems.
I have some questions that were presented by Councilmember Mealy. This particularly deals with the Tapscott Street rehab. And I know that's a RAD PAC converted development that's actually going through their phase of construction. Councilmember wanted to know, does the developer or the Fairstride require residents to deconstruct their furniture or cut them in half during renovations?
No, and she can. I will say the compliance department. We do have a oversight role with the PAC program, and we work with the developers every day to resolve issues. So if there's a specific resident that she wants to refer our way, we can definitely work with them.
Some tenants have reached out to our office, and they've been saying that their apartment during renovations have dealt with dust and other environmental hazards. What is the practice when NYCHA moves residents to hotels?
So this is within the public housing portfolio or the PACT portfolio?
Red Pack.
Okay. The PACT portfolio, I can tell you about what we do to oversee the lead abatement program, which obviously I think is the dust hazard folks are most worried about. So we have, very early on, we created a monitoring protocol for our PACT properties that looks the exact same as our public housing portfolio on the lead abatement side. So we have a third-party environmental monitoring firm that we use who goes out and does regular inspections. They do inspections of every element of the lead process. So they look at the abatement work, they look at the clearance work and the dust wipes being taken, and they make sure folks are using the right containment, taking dust wipes properly to clear the unit, doing a proper visual inspection of any dust hazards. I will say, there's variability, but most of the time they're finding pretty good results. And then we also do a remote monitoring as well using documentation. So obviously when you do lead abatement at a PAC site, just like at a public housing unit, you have to produce federally required documents, including a clearance report to show that you've cleared the unit of any dust hazards remaining after the abatement's complete. And we review a sample of those reports to make sure that they comply with federal law, have the proper number of dust wipes taken, and the methodologies laid out, and that the lab results are what they should be.
Okay, thank you.
And we report on all this publicly, so if anybody wants to go to our website, you can see in both programs how we're doing on that.
Okay. Well, maybe there's specific instances where that, there's a lack of oversight on behalf of NYCHA.
Yeah, we also take,
and
if any particular resident has an issue that they're worried about in terms of lead dust or anything else, we take complaints through our portal and compliance, but also through my email or other folks' email. So whoever you've got, we were happy to look into it.
So I guess the council member is on virtually. She'll hopefully tend to those specific situations to you so we can get some resolve on that. Now, dealing with NYCHA, what work has been done to account for the budget difficulties in regard to complying with the HUD agreement? And how are you prioritizing the work necessary to for compliance moving forward?
That's a great question, Councilmember. I mean, some of the work is funded already, so obviously all of the capital work, the elevators and boiler replacements, is funded with state and city and federal money. And some of the all lead abatement work is mostly city, but some federal grants we've won too over the last few years that are competitive grants. So that work is funded in our budget. I'll say that I think Eva will say this too, but our hardest thing to budget for is just day-to-day repairs in people's units and skilled trades, and making sure that we can keep up with the physical demands of our infrastructure deteriorating over time. So things like plumbing and painting and plastering and all the work that's to get done in people's apartments, which obviously does impact some of our agreement metrics. And that's where we, I think, face both a substantial capital need and a operational budget need.
Specifically, I know there was a situation in my district with the Louis H. Pink houses where I believe there was there are boilers that are new boilers that are being put in to help out the existing boilers, but there's been a pause because of a situation with DOT, and it seems like it has dragged on. I know there's been some back and forth with my office over that particular issue, but when there's a pause like that, does that also bring about a budget difficulty, or because of timing, does it add on costs?
We can have our capital folks address that one. I think sometimes there will be increases in costs when there's a pause. That one sounds more like maybe we're having trouble staging the mobiles on the DOT property, which shouldn't really have a huge impact on the project or the project's budget. And we try to build in contingencies in our budgets for all of our capital projects so that if something like that does happen, we can still fund the project. And obviously these boiler projects need to get done.
Okay. Hopefully we'll get some more feedback on that. In the final report, the outgoing monitor outlined the need to improve 3 pillar areas: governance, ethics, with value-based compliance and accountability. What work has been done thus far to improve these areas, and what plans do you have to foster a culture of responsibility for NYCHA?
That's a great question. I think that was a very insightful report from the last monitor team. I think we've built a lot in the last few years to try to, make sure our staff understand the responsibility of being a NYCHA employee and what it means to be a NYCHA employee and having good values around customer service. But obviously, there's a lot more work to do in that area. In these focus areas, we have very specific ways now of identifying staff who are not following the proper protocols, which are using risk-based data analytical tools and an investigation team, and making sure we identify folks. And I think we do have senior leadership buy-in to hold people accountable who are not doing things properly. But it is a daily task to make sure we kind of rebuild the culture to meet that moment.
Is there anything you're doing to position NYCHA's response more towards a proactive pre-exemption or remediation?
For something in particular, for like staff accountability or?
Yes.
I think, we are trying to be more proactive. I'll say we've got a really good effort underway to kind of rebuild our trainings around management skills and customer service and softer skills too. And also providing more up-to-date training on, just how to adhere to the updated procedures we've built over the last few years. So, once our staff is really trained on that and understand what it means to be a NYCHA employee and how you present yourself and how to manage staff, I think we'll be much better off. And that is the most proactive thing you can do, is to make sure our managers and our employees know the expectations of them through really good training.
Residents continue to have issues with long wait times for work orders and that are improperly closed, particularly, obviously, tickets being improperly closed. What work is being done to improve NYCHA accountability and its responsiveness to those issues?
Thank you, Councilmember. We recognize that the long wait times and closed work tickets is a consistent problem. However, I think over the last year, especially, we've made significant progress here through our work order reform efforts. We have, one of the things we're tracking is how many work orders get closed with work done, so that the ticket actually represents work performed and not just a closed work ticket. And over the past year, 70% of our tickets were closed with work done, which was a significant improvement from the prior years. And less than 4% of tickets are closed with due to no access. So we're really trying to focus on how we're performing on our work tickets. In addition, we know that our wait times are long for our skilled trades. It's something we're constantly tracking and looking at. Right now, though, our goal was to keep up on what we call annual demand, so keeping up on the work tickets that are opened each year and each month. And so far, we're meeting 99% of annual demand over the past year. So we're able to kind of keep up right now, but we understand that there's still a backlog and that residents are waiting a long time, reflective of the number of skilled trades we have and our ability to meet those tickets.
Do you have an accurate number of as what the backlog looks like?
Right now, our backlog of skilled trade tickets is approximately 330,000. And so we work to schedule those tickets.
That's throughout NYCHA. That's throughout the entire.
That's throughout NYCHA, yeah. And that's skilled trade backlog. And so the backlog.
So the skilled trade backlog would be?
Our main trades are carpenter, plumber,
okay.
bricklayer, plasterer, and that's really the core of our work orders and the repairs that are needed in the apartments.
And you're saying that the 300, the number you just gave, is an accurate number?
Yes.
Okay.
That's for our main skill trades, so the main number. We do have a small maintenance backlog. And
does that include scenarios where residents have taken off from work and the ticket was closed out? How is that accounted for?
So the number I gave is the number of open work orders. And so right now, work orders are scheduled through our neighborhood planning units, which was one of our major transformation plan projects, to create a neighborhood planning unit so residents can work with a neighborhood planner to schedule their work orders. We understand that sometimes work orders get closed out, but 75% of our work orders right now are having work done. So we're starting to decrease that number that are
But
closed out.
specifically, the work orders that are being closed out and no work is being done.
Well,
What are the numbers on those? How are you tracking? How are you trying to improve those so residents are not taking off from work and losing the value they pay at
Yeah.
their expense, not NYCHA's
Yeah.
expense?
I will say in most of these agreement-related areas, we have restrictions on staff's ability to do that. So you cannot do that for a mold-related work order, for example. You cannot close it with a tenant not home. It's not permitted in the system. And likewise, for extermination tickets, it requires multiple attempts. And same goes for our lead-based pay remediation tickets. You can't close that with tenant not home. So we also have put things in place to prevent you from being able to do that with high priority and, critical repairs under the agreement. And in terms of other items that are being done by our skilled trades and our other staff, we
Well-
do have oversight now. So we have teams that go out and check. I have a skilled trades monitoring program where we go out and see if our skilled trades are where they're supposed to be, whether or not they're at the appointment that's been scheduled for them, whether or not the right person has showed up. We also have a quality assurance unit that is taking a sample of work orders that have been closed and seeing that when they go back to that unit, if the work was done properly, the tenant is satisfied. So we've tried to build some, on the back end, ways of us tracking our staff and seeing if we see trends among particular people who have very high rates, for example, of closing things without work done. So a lot of us have built tools that look at particular laborers to see if we see higher rates of that, and then we'll do an investigation to that person. So we do have a lot of things we've developed in the last few years to try to get at that problem, which I think all of us hear from residents, a lot of frustration.
I also
Critical,
want
critical repairs are relative. If you've been waiting for a paint job for 15 years,
100%, yeah.
so these types of repair issues or badly needed repair issues, how are you addressing those? How are you dealing with those? How are you tracking those? So these things are not prolonged.
So as I said, we are tracking all of our work orders and our performance for those by trade, by the time, and like I said, right now we're keeping up on annual demand. We know that there's many tickets that we're not getting to, and we understand that sometimes we fail to show up. We have emergencies that happen, teams get pulled off. One of the things we're starting to work on are additional communication protocols
Right.
to let residents know when we're not going to show up on time. So robocalls, text messages, we're looking at other ideas and ways to
Are you
residents
looking at
prefer.
them, or are these, because these robocalls, those types of communication should be easy to implement. So knowing the track record of NYCHA, these are things that should have been implemented already instead of studying them or thinking about doing them now.
We are continuing to work on that because it's real-time data, and we're working on almost 200,000 work orders a month, and so we want to make sure that we're able to properly.
Well, it's real-time data when a tenant has had a leak or a paint job or hasn't had a paint job for the last 10 or 15 years. That's real-time data too.
Understood.
Residents, throughout their report, both monitors have cited that NYCHA does not track certain data, with the most recent reporting citing NYCHA's performance in addressing heating failures in individual apartments. As an example, how does NYCHA make the decision on what data to track and not track, and what are the resources involved in the data tracking?
Well, so just to be clear on we do track unit complaints. We have, if a resident calls in a unit heat complaint, it comes in with a very particular kind of coding with a report time, and then we can track the time to close. We also implemented protocols in the last 5 years so that every time we close a unit complaint, our heating plant technician has to input the temperature and take a temperature reading and attach a picture of their temperature reading. And my department and our heating department both look at all of our HPTs to see if they're doing that properly or not. They don't always, and sometimes we have to engage in discipline around that process, but we do track heat complaints. The issue in the agreement has been that there are very specific, there's a random sample that has to be created for figuring out if you're dipping below the temperature threshold, and the last monitor in NYCHA, we did not focus on building that random sample data set, and we also do still have to figure out exactly how we want to read
some of the provisions that have kind of like different words used in different places in the agreement that was in the way it was written. So in some portions of the agreement, it uses the word outage. In some places, it uses the word shortfall. And so we kind of have never been able to define out where something is applicable to apartments versus buildings, lines, and campuses. But we're looking forward to working with the monitor team to make everyone comfortable with the data and happy with it.
How are you dealing with the senior developments? You know, the senior developments tend to get a lot of complaints about
Yeah.
the lack of heating, or because we know seniors tend to need more heat. How are those complaints monitored? How are they tracked? What tender care is given to those particular developments?
So we have a 24/7 heat desk, which was a requirement in the agreement. That 24/7 heat desk has, I encourage people to go check it out. It's got really good data across the entire authority now about what complaints have come in. It also can identify for you how many seniors live at a property, whether it's a senior designated building, and when they dispatch staff as part of like the heat process, including floating staff late at night, they can take that into account if it's a senior building or not.
Does NYCHA have the funds and resources to meet the proposed deadlines in the NYCHA HUD agreement?
I think we do in key places. Like I said, the lead abatement obligation is funded.
Is the money there?
Boilers. I think it's going to be, here's what I'll say is the hardest thing for us is that we have deteriorating physical conditions and an enormous capital need, which the monitor alluded to as well. There are certain provisions in the agreement that will be incredibly difficult to comply with if we don't address the very severe capital needs, including things like our plumbing system.
Right.
So if we don't address our plumbing systems, which is a probably $15 billion need, it's really difficult to address mold and leak compliance. We've seen this in our PACT portfolio where once they do address that capital need, they can keep up with the demand on mold and leaks. It's hard for us to keep up with that demand as you mix and match materials in our plumbing systems, and then you are springing a leak somewhere else in the plumbing. So I think it's going to be difficult in some places if we don't address the capital need to get into compliance.
Well, among the pillar areas which requires greatest amount of additional funding to meet the requirements of the HUD agreement, which pillar areas are best funded against the need?
Our lead abatement pipeline is probably best funded. That has $770+ million attached to it just in the first 10 years from the city, plus a couple grants we've gotten from HUD that are a few million as well, and then we've got out-year money to do the abatement too, and the testing. So that's probably our best funded focus area. The boilers and elevators have gotten a lot of state money and city money and federal money. I'd say those are probably the next most funded.
Well, NYCHA reported $339 million in unfunded capital needs in 2024, and included $94 million for the pillar area compliance. What's NYCHA's plan for addressing the $94 million in pillar needs that were not funded by the authority in 2024?
I think those are probably operating dollars, right? Not capital dollars.
These are capital needs.
Unmet capital needs.
Yes.
$94 million. I guess we'll go back and take a look at those. I'm not sure how they ended up getting funded.
Okay. Does NYCHA anticipate a budget deficit for the forthcoming 2025 budget?
As you probably know, our fiscal year is a calendar year, so we're in our budget process right now, so I'd have to defer that as we're finalizing our budget to our CFO and our COO. Our CFO and CEO, rather. Our budget will be going to our board in the next 2 months for approval, and then we're happy to sit down and discuss with you what our final budget position is for next year.
Okay. What support do you think NYCHA needs from the city, state, and federal government to accomplish the goals set forth in the agreement?
I think Neil put it probably best. I mean, mostly resources.
Right.
I think we've got a lot of good things that we've done in terms of putting processes in place, and we're making good investments. Obviously, the more we scale those investments, the better off we'll be.
Is NYCHA planning to request any waivers from HUD to comply with certain inspections or regulatory requirements to comply with the NYCHA HUD agreement?
We really do, I mean, Matt said it, we really do talk every day with HUD and the Attorney's Office and the monitor. He gave a good example of places where we feel like we have, good approaches that maybe we need sign off from HUD on, that could save a little bit of money and also make us operate more efficiently. There have been other things we've worked on around like our operating subsidy, other things we've asked HUD for, and we have a regular weekly meeting with very senior leadership at HUD to go over these items, and it's been a very collaborative process.
All right. The monitor pointed the need for a supplemental action plan for temperature monitoring devices in all developments. When should that plan be completed?
The temperature monitoring, we've tested a bunch of products. We can have Keith come up here and talk about it. It's not, obviously, if you've been in NYCHA properties, it's not so easy to design a temperature monitoring device that's going to work on the cloud across all units and all of our properties, and also give you a reliable temperature. So it's a really difficult problem for us. We have provided a lot of temperature monitoring through our building management systems, but having just a specific device is challenging.
When do you plan to complete it?
Yeah, Keith, you want to talk about the challenges?
So just briefly, could you raise your right hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you.
Is it on now? Yeah. There. So we've been looking at, to Brad's point, we've been looking at a number of different models. We haven't found one that actually gives us solid return on data. There's wildly inconsistent with our industry standard temperature sensor to the remote sensor. So the answer to that question is that we are continuing to work on the monitor with that and do not have a final date for completion of that.
Look forward to that. What is NYCHA's process to addressing the heating failures in individual apartments from start to finish?
So there's another thing that we're really looking forward to working on the monitor with. As part of the as part of the agreement, we're required to work on an action plan with them. This is an area that, again, to Brad's point, we didn't focus on that in the previous monitor. This monitor has been working diligently on a process to both utilize our existing data, which I think our quality has gotten a lot better over the last couple of years, and then how to report on that data publicly to show where we are and are not missing the agreement.
I will say, just to answer your question about the process, so we've worked with the heating department and compliance to build a very comprehensive procedure for our staff on what to do when there's a unit complaint. It starts in the boiler room and in the tank room, but the expectation is that also our staff is going to go to every unit that has a complaint, especially if it's during the work day, and they're going to check they have a temperature that a thermometer that's issued to them by the NYCHA heating department that meets standards, and they're supposed to take a temperature check, see if it's above the legal limit or not, check the radiators, and see if they're working properly. And there's a specific type of work order we've created for unit complaints that they have to input information on what they found and take a picture of their thermometer that shows the temperature. And then we and the heating department check those work orders to see if our staff are doing it properly or not. If they're not doing it properly, let's say we see a picture that is one temperature and inputted information that work order is a different temperature, or we see them constantly using the same temperature, we investigate that person, and so does the heating department, and we engage in a disciplinary process if we see it repeatedly, and we really want our staff to follow this very specific process for every unit complaint.
Thank you. How many remote monitoring systems have been installed?
Are you asking about elevators or heat?
Oh, for the elevators.
For elevators. So the agreement requirement is to do 70% of our elevators having remote monitoring. We're at 73%, and Keith can talk to you about how those systems operate. We also, every time we're modernizing a new elevator, we are installing a remote monitoring system, but we have met that requirement.
According to the agreement, one of the obligations related to pest and waste management is the constructing of 50 rat slabs by December 2020. Could you by December 2020. Could you share the progress of this obligation and how many rat slabs have been constructed to today?
I think Dylan will come up here from our capital program. While he's coming up here, I'll tell you the rat slabs are not such a simple project as they sound. Sometimes they're in confined spaces. We also couldn't do that work during the COVID pandemic. But Dylan, if you want to give an update on how many we've gotten towards the 50s.
Just before you start, could you raise your right hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
Yes, I do. So, council member, to date, we've completed 37 out of the 50 rat slabs.
Does NYCHA believe they have met the requirement? Well, obviously, you haven't met the requirement of the 50%.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, as you said, we have not.
So does NYCHA believe that they have met the requirement of the 50% reduction in rat population, 40% reduction in mice, and cockroach reduction in bed bugs?
That's separate from the rat slab. So there's an obligation in the agreement to set a NYCHA pest infestation index, which I think is what you're referring to. The monitors, the last monitor and this monitor are supposed to be who initiates that infestation index. We have been doing yearly inspections since the beginning of the agreement to set a baseline. And then we have to kind of figure out from a data standpoint. We've had really talented data scientists and urban entomologists working on this from the monitor team for the last 5 years. I think we are still talking with them about that baseline and what it will look like, and also what it will look like to measure the populations in future years. But it is a exceedingly complicated data project. That's why when I showed you earlier, we are encouraged and hope that it will come to show that in the population index too. We're encouraged by the fact that we do see fewer complaints from residents about the public health pest types. Complaints are not a perfect way to see a population, because you might have residents who are not complaining about pests in their apartment, and that might be the index unit, for example. But we're encouraged by the downward trend in the number of complaints, kind of being indicative of a reduction in the population in NYCHA properties.
All right, thank you for that information. We're going to move on to RADPAC developments. How does NYCHA coordinate with private developers to monitor conditions at apartments as well as comply with the HUD agreement when specified?
So it's a great question. Neil and Matt covered, I think, it really well. The PACT program is really got like a very narrow focus in the agreement itself. So the obligations in the agreement are really about delivering elevators and boilers through the PACT program, and also we actually go way above and beyond the obligations for lead abatement in the PACT program, but there are some lead abatement obligations for PACT in the agreement that we just have decided as a policy matter to exceed. So we do, like I said earlier, have a really robust plan to monitor their lead abatement compliance. We have a third-party environmental inspector who goes out to each of the PACT properties. We look at documentation for each of the PACT properties for a sample of units on a very specific timeline as part of our certification process to the federal government. And we also, the monitor has done this, and we have a construction team that also goes out to look at the assets that have been delivered and see if they are indeed to spec. I will say, like, outside of the agreement, we do a lot with the PACT program that we've built, especially in the last few years. So we have an asset management team that regularly gets reporting every month from PACT developers in some of these same focus areas about how they're addressing work orders, whether or not they're doing it timely. Our department does a lot around mold and leaks at those locations. So if we see any unit that's going beyond 30 days in that report, we have a specific protocol for compliance to follow up with the resident first.
Okay.
And then the developer to see if we can expedite repairs and report on what's happening. We also have a process for mold and leaks immediately at closing to kind of manage the transition of those tickets between NYCHA and the PACT developer and make sure nothing falls through the cracks about work that has to get done with the resident. There too, it's very resident focused. We are calling residents and making sure that we get pictures from them of the repair getting done. So, yeah.
Tell me about the 30-day. Is that when that's when NYCHA is notified?
So
if there's a prolonged repair that's needed after 30 days?
So we get a monthly report from the PACT developers that has lots of data about their work orders. And it's also available on our website.
how they're doing. The 30 days is a very specific obligation that we designed with the Baez plaintiffs and the independent data analysts. So if we have a ticket that comes in on that monthly report that we see has been open for 30 days or more, it comes to compliance on a very specific report, and then we're following up with that resident to make sure they get the ticket addressed to their satisfaction.
What about those rad packs that have no ticket process?
They all have a work order process.
Okay.
Yeah, so they all have to report to us on all their work orders in these focus areas.
Okay.
And it gets it's a download that comes into our environment that we then analyze.
Okay, how are the rad pack developments impacted when it comes to NYCHA's compliance with the HUD agreement? For instance, does NYCHA continue to work with the development after it's been fully transferred to private ownership?
Yes, I mean, we're, at least in our department, we're working with the PACT residents pretty much the same way we work with public housing residents. So we have a complaint forum for people to reach out to us. We work actively with them during the construction if they have an issue, and they're happy to investigate anything related to the PACT development.
So if a resident, a particular repair issue that's been going on for months, would that have been a failure of NYCHA to provide oversight or referee that situation?
It really, it depends on the circumstances, I think.
Right.
I will say, if we see something, for example, in our workflow that has exceeded a month or two, we're pretty aggressive with the developer about getting it resolved. And we're happy if people want to refer cases.
Yeah, I have multiple cases I would like to refer to you because I'm intrigued about NYCHA's oversight and how engaged you really are in the rad pack developments. Because we're not seeing that I'm not seeing that on the ground, especially in my district where we have 4 rad pack conversions, and we're constantly seeing emails from tenants complaining about the same repair issues, and some of the repair issues are being caused by the rehab. So you have a rehab that's meant to help folks, but it's, you're seeing leaks.
I think
you're seeing terrible paint jobs being done, inferior materials being used, across the board. So it brings me to question: is this really a true investment? And is NYCHA really meeting its obligation of really doing the proper oversight over these rad packs?
Yeah, I do know that. I've been to Boulevard Houses in Linden many times. We have had things that we've had to go out there for. So if you
just not Boulevard, again, Penn Wortman
and Linden, and
Linden Houses,
and Belmont Sutter. We've been to a lot of those locations.
Yeah, Belmont Sutter,
but happy to come back out.
Yeah, and I would, I've gotten complaints as being the chair of public housing committee throughout the city and some of the other rad pack conversions. So it's obviously something that I think NYCHA definitely needs to pay attention to, and because I'm not seeing the oversight that's needed over these private these conversions that have taken place. It's quite the opposite. Does a development status as a candidate for rad pack affect NYCHA's process in choosing developments for improvement and repairs, such as lead remediation? And if so, how?
It really has no impact if it's in the pipeline. What we're going to do, no matter what, we pull a visual assessment universe every year based on whether there's a child in the unit and whether the unit's positive or presumed positive. If you're going to go PACT, we're still going to create that ticket, and we're still going to go and see if there's a paint deficiency, and we're still going to remediate it, try to remediate it on a timely basis. And likewise, we try to coordinate testing so we're not overwhelming residents with too many appointments, because our PACT developers test and we test. But we are testing and abating in properties that are on the PACT pipeline, just like we do other pipelines. We do try to not have us doing it all at the same time so that residents are not staying home twice for the same service. But either way, we want residents to get that service.
Okay. Tenant outreach. When starting or finishing certain projects, such as NYCHA's centralized robocall system for heating outages, how do you notify NYCHA tenants?
You're asking if there's an outage, how do we notify residents?
Yes.
So there's a requirement in the agreement around notifications happening via robocall, which we do. It automatically triggers a robocall once an outage has been confirmed. That goes to the residents in the impacted units. So sometimes an outage is a line, sometimes it's a building, sometimes it's like certain buildings. So it depends on kind of how we validate the outage, and then that will generate robocalls automatically that go out from the system, informing them of the outage. Also, once the outage has been restored, we check apartments before we say that it's been restored, but we do want to make sure anybody that had the outage can still put in a ticket if they still feel like they don't have heat service, even after we've restored the boiler. So we have an IVR system that has an outbound call that goes to residents that has them have the opportunity to give to create another work order if they need to say, hey, I still don't have heat.
And also to, as far as communicating to residents or the tenants that are in the RADPAC converted developments, is the authority monitoring when those scenarios take place, a particular outage in a building, what's being done? What is the degree of oversight or monitoring or engagement of NYCHA when it comes to the RADPACs?
It's a good question. I'm not sure what the notification requirements are for outages at a PAC-say. I'm sure, obviously, they have different data systems, so we can look into that.
No, so you're saying there's a...
I honestly don't know.
You don't know, okay.
I don't know what notifications how they distribute notifications.
So they're not reporting to you?
Not me
So
personally.
you're
I
not
don't know.
you're not in the mix. If there's an outage of any sort in a RADPAC development or in a you're not. They don't report to you.
We do get a
You're
report
not
from
in the
them
mix.
that the outage occurred. I don't know how they notify residents and what their process is for notifying residents that an outage has occurred. So we can look into that.
Well, that particular process, you're not.
I
You don't
person-
know. Okay.
I personally don't know.
So who would
We'll ask
know
somebody.
what?
Someone from our real estate department and the asset management team, they're not here today. So but we can definitely look into it.
Okay. How do you verify whether tenants receive the messaging, and do you track the participation and responsiveness of the outreach efforts?
We
with-
can
with NYCHA.
We can check data on the robocall and how many people picked it up and how many people answered it. But it is hard to measure sometimes whether people have heard the alert.
Would you say they're effective at this particular?
I have a lot of residents that complain to me about how many robocalls they get, so I think so. But I don't know that it's, I think a lot of us are trying to study other communications platforms. Some folks use text messaging at NYCHA, which maybe is a better one, but we're always open to feedback.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your answers and your testimony. Thank you. We're going to move to the public comment section. Guys, order in the chamber. You'll have your opportunity to give testimony, and at that time, we'll do so. Thank you. Okay, I'm now going to open up the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that the decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant of Arms for inclusion into the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out the appearance card with the Sergeant of Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak at today's hearing, which is the NYCHA's HUD agreement on ongoing federal monitorship. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant of Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@councilnyc.gov or our other email address within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. The first panel, we're going to begin with Crystal G., Alexia Cruz, Christina Chase, Alexia Torres, and Zule Velasquez.
President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll begin with our right.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Alexa Cruz, and I've been a resident for many years, maybe 50-something years. And I'm trying to keep Section 9. I wanted to talk about a bill that Nydia Velasquez had presented before. It's the H.R. 307, I think it is. It hasn't been approved, and I think that they should, the Democrats are not wanting it. They are going against the people that are low income, and they want to get us out of housing and to give us over to the private developers. And I don't feel safe with the security of NYCHA that I had years ago. And I wanted to present the H.R. 307, but it's not passed because we went to Nadler's building and we protested, and on Twitter he approved it, and nothing has been done. None of the delegates, none of the elected officials or him has, and they have decided to go forward with the privators regardless of renovation and or demolishment. And it scares me because we're not protected with Section 9 the way we have been since 1930-something. And it's very scary. It's very scary for me because I live on low income. And
thank you for your testimony, and we'll definitely take a look at that particular bill.
yeah.
Good
Yes, ma'am.
afternoon, Mr. Banks. How you doing?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I have a lot that I would like to say. I know that this HUD amendment was what this meeting was about, but I'm very concerned because I noticed Councilman Jose, he asked a question as well about tenant leaders not having access to whatever and not being on the HUD, CAC, the Community Advisory Council, but that's not true. There are tenant association board members on the CAC meetings that's on the board, number one. And number two, someone had asked, Ms. Aviles, she said DCOP members are on the Community Advisory Council, but the guy you was talking to, he said no, that there weren't any, but there are. Okay, you have district council people on that HUD monitorship. The thing I couldn't figure out is, because Mr. Jose even asked, how is it that you formed a monitor? I'll wait till he finished telling you what he's telling so you can hear what I'm saying. The brother asked, how did they form this HUD monitor? I think that was in Trump's era with, I forget the guy that's the surgeon and all this kind of thing. Yeah. That's when that Trump monitor thing was formed. Okay, so who appointed these people? Why wouldn't they have appointed NYCHA tenant associations, since it seems like the NYCHA tenant associations got all the juice? Because if you look at the bylaws, right, the bylaws governs the organization. So this is democracy. So tenants can't even approach these people. It's as if they're Jesus Christ or something. And can I continue?
30 seconds.
So I'm very, very concerned. How is it, I'm in Washington Houses, and our tenant association from 2019 has never presented minutes at our tenant meetings. We haven't met with our new manager. We don't know what kind of TPA money is being spent. How is the DCOP, the District Council of Presidents, who are the people who approve tenant participation money, how are they approving these people going to conferences in Puerto Rico, for their family days? How is DCOP approving this? How is HUD approving this TPA money, and the tenants, the residents, are not getting this information because we don't get minutes? There are no minutes. The last thing I wanted to say is, I don't understand. Oh God, it's
30 more
remember
seconds.
what I wanted to say. How do you people, you have these hearings, how do you follow up? Like, I know y'all are supposed to be questioning government agencies, city agencies. New York City Housing Authority, I know it's a corporation and it's all this kind of 338 developments and all this kind of thing here, but nothing is ever resolved. I thank God that there's a few tenants here today. I came out because I'm very, very concerned how these tenant associations are operating. We have a DCOP person at this table, and I remember her telling me when she was appointed, she even said, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know what my title is. So we got folks that don't even know. I personally believe NYCHA is a syndicate, me personally, and it needs to be investigated. You can follow me, watch me, I don't care. I live there, we pay rent, we paying good rent. How is it that the criminals seem to be working with the cops, and the tenants my compactor in my building has been out for a year, the compactor. They put it on for a couple of months, and then it's out again. How is that possible?
Right.
And then the word on the street is, well, the workers don't want to go in the basement because it's rats this long. But when was we gonna get the memo as tenants?
Right.
It's not fair. We got managers coming and going. I don't know who our manager is, because I speak up for myself.
Right.
You got guys in the management office
You
that
gotta-
leave out the office with bags this long. They could be taking computers out of the building. Management office. They could be removing computers. They could be taking our documents and sharing them with
Right.
whoever. Thank you for letting me speak, Mr. Bank. I really appreciate that.
I hear your frustrations.
And I hope
Yeah.
you'll follow up. Because my mama always told me, if you don't have nothing good to say about somebody, then don't say
Don't say
squat.
squat.
The last thing I really need to say this. When they swear, who are they swearing to? There's no Bible. So what are you swearing to?
Right.
Come on now, we got to do better than this.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon. I bring to the council, since this is supposed to be a RAD and PAC, also, you know, the federal monitor, that one of the things, and my name is Ike Satoris, and I'm the president of Alfred E. Smith Houses, is that the abatement is being done. However, some of the residents I've been pushing back, and what's happening is they say, oh, you can opt out. At the advice of the attorney that we have on retainer in Alfred E. Smith, he said, Ike, so what was the point of going to court and winning this case if the residents are not going to abate the lead in their apartments, right? And so I have spoken to the federal monitor about this, and I owe him the names of the residents who have opted out because they feel it's too much to move out of their homes, to do whatever it does. On Rad and Pat, and I am one angry person today, when they talk about we're open and not, no. There was a resident who was arrested in a meeting, in a RAD meeting, that was supposed to be in a public school for illegally trespassing, and she was invited by the residents of that development that are going through this process so that they can have, right, a different view or part of what really happens when you go from Section 9 to RAD and PAT. I think you need to ask about that. There has to be like real, so now residents can't speak up because they're gonna be handcuffed and taken out of when they've been invited to a meeting to defend. Okay, to defend or to advise or advocate for residents who are requesting support and help because they feel they're not getting it from NYCHA. And I just wanted to, and since it happened in my district, right?
We are inquiring about that.
Okay, yeah,
because
I didn't want to mention the resident's name because she happens to be a resident.
We're very
of public
familiar
housing,
with
not
the
in my
situation.
district.
Yeah.
But I just didn't, and I don't want to mention, if you ask me off, I will tell you the name of the person and I will tell you the name of the development. But I am, and for the record, I have family, blood, that lives in that development who are clueless about how this is being handled with the RAT and the PAC. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Zulay Velasquez from Jacob Reese. So to add to that day, what's going on, it wasn't Reese, and the person was arrested, and the reason why we invited her was exactly what Ms. Torres said. But in addition to that, it's being a very unfair process at Reese because we're supposed to get a vote and it's supposed to be transparent, and they say they doing this resident engagement, but they're not. All they're doing is they're doing like this fake facade. They don't let you ask questions, or they don't let the people who are vocal ask questions. So for an example, there was a meeting last week. They was letting every other resident ask questions, and so I walked in the room, and then they wouldn't let me ask a question. And everyone deserves to hear the answer because they're not being transparent. But we're supposed to get a vote, and then somehow there's something wrong with the bylaws. They're switching the vote over to March, but so is the RAD-PAC vote, supposedly. But how do we have a developer? Is Essence. So we found that out last week, but how is that possible if we haven't even voted? Number one. Number two, who made that decision? Because in the cover letters, it says that they would include the members and the residents in every single step. And they have not done that. All they're doing, they'll pretend and they'll take pictures. And like in the last 2 meetings, they have these little dots they give people. If you like the program, you put green. If you don't like it, put orange. They were giving the elderly people and the Asian people only the green dots. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to give this illusion like, oh, the residents voted for that, the residents did this, but that's a lie. We still have questions. The subcommittee doesn't even meet regularly, and the questions and concerns that they have are not even being addressed. It's a problem.
30 more seconds.
And I want to say that the park at Reese was put up because of something for Adams, and we still have heat coming up from the ground that should have been corrected before they put up that park. or the fence should have went down, because if those pipes explode, there's gonna be asbestos all over that playground and that basketball court, and it's getting worse by the day. It's really scary. You walk past there, is not only does it smell, but the heat is under the ground so far that the sidewalk is cracking. So, I mean, like, are we gonna cave in? They're not fixing it, and they were supposed to fix it months ago when they haven't. And it's just, I mean, I could keep going, but it's just really upsetting. And the monitor in regards to the water for the arsenic scare, it was a crisis. And we have well over 40, 50 residents with proof from different facilities, different hospitals. There's no way that a lab could say this was a mistake when you have 50, 40 residents reporting from 40 different, or like, 3 or 4 different hospitals. This is impossible. But guess what? The monitor is not even providing water. We're showering in the filthy water. I have a piece of metal stuck in my navel because I took a bath, and I'm allergic. I have contact dermatitis. Who's gonna take this metal out? Is exploratory procedure what's gonna happen to me? I could die just because I need to take out a piece of metal? Like, this is real serious.
Wow.
And it's the East Coastal Resilience Project, because they say it's for our sewer, but it's not. They're building for the East Coastal Resilience, and they're killing us. That's the bottom line.
I hear your frustrations. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you for your advocacy. The next panel will be Darren Seeley. This is Lucy Newman, Caesar Godwall, Christopher Leon Johnson, and Sadie Gil Fredro. Sadie? Sorry about that. It's kind of Hold on 1 minute.
No problem.
I'm going to start to my left.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson. Thank you, Chair Banks, for having us hearing today. I heard a lot from the federal monitor, 2 co-federal monitors, about the HUD situation. I understand this was done during the Trump era and is real good. We need this accountability from the government to make sure that NYCHA is doing their job. But the power really relies with the tenants. The power really relies with all these the tenants of NYCHA. These tenants of NYCHA have to come together and unite as one and fight back against what's happening to them. And this starts with making sure that you don't align with organizations that are down with CODA LES, like the organization that's called Residents Preserve Public Housing. That's one of the big organizations that's so-called fighting for the allegedly so-called fighting for the tenants, but they're not. Their lead person, Marquise Jenkins, is a member of CODA LES. CODA LES gets a lot of money from developers. How is a person that is a district leader, that is working, that is part of a political club, that is only reason he's in the state of, he's a district leader because of that political club with the help of Paul Newell, is advocating for the NYCHA tenants? The people of NYCHA got to get together. But I tell people this: you guys got to come together and tell Marquise Jenkins to get out the way. Marquise Jenkins is down with Carly Rivera. Carly Rivera is a YIMBY politician. A YIMBY politician act like she's fighting for the people with this. It's not as unrealistic. So people gotta understand that you can have all this accountability you want, but like I said, the power falls with the tenants, and people gotta stop listening to the Residents to Preserve Public Housing and Marquise Jenkins. So you tenants gotta come together, get all these frauds out the way. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Sir, press the. You have to press the button so we can hear you amplify.
Like that?
Thank you.
Okay.
You may start your testimony.
Hello, Mr. Banks. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you.
Great. Hello, dear friends and neighbors. My name is Cesar Godwall. I proudly call Elliott Chelsea my home. Today I stand before you to address an urgent and critical issue, the proposed RAD PAC project at Elliott Chelsea Fulton Houses. This initiative, spearheaded by foreign contractors, poses a grave threat to the stability and well-being of our NYCHA residents. We must speak out now against the potential displacement of our neighbors and the ongoing injustices we are facing. The developer behind the project, Related Companies, led by CEO Steve Ross, is poised to exploit our community in ways that are truly alarming. What began as a seemingly benign initiative has revealed itself to be a calculated strategy aimed at destabilizing, confusing, and ultimately displacing citizens. This project was framed as a solution to our housing needs, but let me be clear, it is a facade, an elaborate hoax designed to serve the interests of developers, not the residents of Elliott Chelsea. Let's reflect on what happened on March 23. Jerry Nadler, who does not live in NYCHA, collaborated with Mayor Adams and certain tenant association leaders to manipulate our voices. They conspired behind closed doors, attempting to convince us that this RAD PAC project was what we wanted. In reality, it was a plan to demolish our homes. So the so-called resident survey they conducted claimed that 84% of residents support keeping their homes. Let's not be fooled. The 16% that was voted for the project is a significant vote of no confidence. This survey was merely a facade designed to create a false sense of consensus. The truth is that a substantial majority of us vehemently oppose this project. Moreover, Related Companies has taken over our tenant
30
association.
seconds to wrap it up.
One more minute. Tenant association
30 seconds to wrap it up.
facilities, using them as business. Moreover, Related Companies have taken over our tenant association facilities, using them as business offices without any compensation. This is a blatant attempt to silence us and undermine our community engagement. Instead of supporting our efforts to organize, management has actively worked against us. They've removed our flyers, vandalized our properties, and harassed residents simply for trying to communicate with one another. This is nothing short of an assault on our voices and our rights. And if that's not enough, we are currently facing contractor fraud regarding lead paint inspections in my building. My building, constructed in 1962, never had lead paint, yet we are being threatened with unnecessary inspections. In fact, in 2021, my home was tested
Thank you for your
and found
testimony,
clean.
sir.
I need to finish.
Thank you for
we
your-
face
thank you for your
intimidation
testimony.
tactics, threatening to break down doors and
Thank you
forcibly
for your
change
testimony,
locks.
sir.
This is not negligence. It is intentional harassment.
Thank you for your testimony. You can supply. You can definitely, if you want to. Yes, you may. Give it to the sergeant moms. Thank you for your testimony. We hear your frustration.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Chair, for hosting us and having this hearing. Just wanted to, my name is Lucy Newman. I'm the supervising attorney of the Legal Aid Society's Public Housing Unit. We represent public housing residents throughout the 5 boroughs. In 2018, when the initial HUD agreement was signed, things at NYCHA couldn't have been worse, as we all know. NYCHA admitted schemes to close work orders. The CEO at the time was fraudulently affirming lead paint inspections. Property management manuals were found that had directed staff to lie to inspectors. And Mr. Caban, an 84-year-old senior in Boston Road Plaza, had been killed when stepping into an elevator in his apartment. 2024, definitely there's progress. We heard about some of it today. As you know, they've been putting some systems in place throughout NYCHA, including a compliance unit and some other units that were required under the monitorship, and there has been widespread lead and mold abatement work. We do remain extremely concerned about a number of areas that we see daily through our clients that come to us and that we work with. Just to name a few, property management still does continue to be problematic. NYCHA mentioned earlier about the need for cultural change and change in attitude, and obviously it is it's still slow coming, and we see that on an individual basis for our clients who have treated pretty poorly when they try and get basic things addressed at their property management offices. We would call on there to be more training for staff on the ground so that they are actually aware of the procedures and policies that they're obligated to follow. In addition to that, there is huge IT and tech problems that we see. The CCC, which is the 718-707 number that residents have to call, is very, very problematic. People wait ages to get their calls answered. In addition to that, there's been a huge push to go onto digital and self-service portals. We have huge difficulties uploading documents on our clients' behalf, and we know that many people...
30 more seconds.
We know that many people are unable to do that, but then they're unable to get the help that they're seeking from the CCC. Building safety and security remains a concern. You'll find every time you go to NYCHA, the doors are open. Policing and over-policing of these communities is not a way to provide safety, so we urge people to focus at NYCHA on making these buildings safe and secure. In addition to that, residences or developments that are undergoing... Can you just please stop saying these offensive things to me? Thank you.
Can you remove him, please?
We know that many developments that are...
Excuse me, ma'am, hold on.
I'll be very quick.
Thank you. You may proceed.
All residents at NYCHA deserve and are entitled to live in safe and habitable homes. Just because a development is undergoing a pact conversion or is facing a vote under the trust legislation does not mean that NYCHA can step away from taking care of those buildings as a landlord is obligated to do under the law. So we urge NYCHA to continue looking after those developments. In addition to that, I do think that we should make sure that the city keeps looking at and maybe proposes a cap on the costs that are being spent by the monitor. You'll see that Bart Schwartz's office, I think, racked up about $70 million of fees, and I think that that's an important area that we should continue to look at. We urge the monitor and the city to continue fighting to get additional funding for public housing at a federal and a state level, and we know that the city stepped up an enormous amount of money under this agreement, but we urge them to do more. And I also implore the committee to have a hearing about Fulton Elliott Chelsea. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Banks and esteemed members of the Committee on Public Housing. My name is Darren Seeley, and I serve as the Program Manager for the Housing Resource Center at the Red Hook Community Justice Center, an initiative of the Center for Justice Innovation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of our work supporting NYCHA residents. Across the center, we work to prevent evictions, respond to hazardous repair conditions, and increase tenant financial and legal well-being. The center often serves as a bridge between the court system, city agencies, legal service providers, and communities. Our neighborhood-based work supports tenants taking actions on repairs, rent, and lease issues in NYCHA. Today, I would like to tell you two critical issues we see daily in our court and community stemming from challenges with leaks and asbestos abatement. Since the start of the year, 85 housing repair cases have been filed in our housing court by NYCHA residents of the Red Hook houses, many involving arising from leaks. Many of these cases display the inefficiencies of an agency that is not well enough equipped to provide habitable housing for its tenants. An apartment is your home. It's where you raise your family. It's where you share those precious moments together. We all deserve to feel safe in our own homes. Residents should not have to live with the physical, financial, and emotional consequences of recurring leaks and mold with no permanent solution in sight. This is a reality for many housing residents. It's far too common for residents to have to submit work order tickets and then file housing repair cases in court when those work order tickets go unaddressed. And these are recurring issues on a daily basis. And these issues are also not isolated just to Red Hook. NYCHA needs to engage in small capital plans to resolve leak issues. Furthermore, while the new adoption of healthy homes as part of NYCHA's transformation plan is good progress and a move in the right direction, we have seen shortfalls in the approach in dealing with asbestos abatements being conducted. Asbestos abatements are long-standing repair issues on the Red Hook Housing Court docket. Tenant frequency receive prolonged remediation
30 seconds to
timelines
wrap it up.
for asbestos abatements for floor tiles. Considering that the mission of Healthy Homes is to eliminate dangerous health hazards, the program should have received necessary resources to conduct their work expeditiously. Both of the issues we highlighted here today reflect the need for a centralized strategy and more targeted resources to resolve pressing health issues residents are living in. On a more positive note, we have seen how the neighborhood model has provided increased transparency to tenants around skilled trade tickets and minor repair issues. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. You may proceed.
So I have to hit the button again? Okay. All right. Hi, Chairman Banks. My name is Sadie Gill Frederick, and I'm a Reese resident. I just want to give you an overall experience of like a walk in my life in terms of being in the development. So there's dump trucks with construction debris uncovered, water shut off without notice, it's cloudy brown or yellow water, and we're told it's okay to resume using it. There's gas odors or leaks have been reported to the point where there are gas specialist trucks parked on site as a regular occurrence. There's asbestos, there's lead, there's arsenic, is a constant hazard at Reese and other developments. Work orders are created but non-existent. When you follow up, you're told there's no vendor or no contract. The HAs lose your folder numerous times when it comes times to recertification, or there's new HAs who are not familiar with the development or in terms of the rules and regulations, and they constantly violate the 964 regs and our First Amendment rights for quality of life, clean water, and clean air. In regards to the PAC meeting that happened last week, I was there the first day, and I cited the Sunrise Law, which is I should be able to come into a location for any public event and speak my mind freely. But I was identified. They ID'd me outside the school as well as inside the school. A NYCHA worker mentioned to me, why they have you sign up twice? Why they IDing you both times? And it was so unnecessary. The other thing is I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I know this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I was diagnosed on my 40th birthday, okay? And I took genetic testing. Nobody on my mother or my father's side has cancer, okay? I was told it was environmental. And then there's also a 23-year-old, one of my neighbors, their son passed, Justice for Gavin. He had to get double lung transplant. Just even thinking about it is just like, it hurts. At the time, when I was diagnosed, I didn't believe it. I just thought that it was me.
30 seconds to wrap it up.
I appreciate that, thank you. And then also, when we had the arsenic harbor, which happened, they found lead in my daughter's system. They don't know if it was going in or it was going out her system. And then when they did the lead abatement last year, I have video footage where you could see them taking showers in my apartment during a live lead abatement and stuff being stolen out of my apartment, where Dan Green, Mr. Healthy Homes, has said that they will not believe you, those 15-second videos, and there's an environmental attorney that I'm working with, Joe Copperman, who's aware as well. So I'll be in business. You will hear my name more than once, and you also will get whatever write-ups that I have in terms of emails where I got from one of their staff members who told me, because of the leaks in my apartment, because it faces the East River, that there is no contract or vendor. And I got it in writing, an email from them stating that the whole side, but then I was told that it's everybody in Reese apartments that's facing the East River when there's a rain. And then we got these like 2-ton, I want to say like a big, oh my God, it's like the tank on top of the roof. So when we had the earthquake, we couldn't distinguish between the regular cracks in the building versus the new cracks in the building. And they're expecting us to report to them as if we work for them, when actually they work for us. They're supposed to help us. And to sit here and say you're with Healthy Homes, well, obviously not, because when I had my issue and other residents had their issues, they disregarded it as if we're not even human. It's like, oh, well, pick a green sticker or a red sticker. I got pictures of that too, where you can see slides 1 through 15, and they bypassed 1 through 4 and went 5 to 15. And when I approached Jonathan and Simon, who are the consultants for PAC, I said, is this a vote? And they said, no, this is not a vote. And I said, because what do you need the dots for? How can you distinguish between the dots that the residents are putting up versus what the NYCHA, whoever just randomly walks up in there? And they're like, well, we just need it for data. What data for what? To say that this is what we want, you know? but they said it's not a vote. I got that on recording too. So yeah, so if they come after me, it's going to be in the clouds at this point, because I'm tired of them constantly, treating us as if we're subpar because we live in Nitro, as if we're dumb. Like kids would do a sticker and say green I like and red I don't like.
Thank
Can you imagine if we had a vote in the presidential like that? Oh my God.
I hear your frustrations.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I
your
appreciate
testimony.
it.
We're going to have the next panel, Judy Wade, Elisa Griggs, and Manuel Martinez. Hold on 1 minute. It's all right. We'll wait for everybody to be seated at the dais. Starting to my left, you may proceed. My left. If you're not ready, I'll go to Mr. Martinez.
Okay, hi. My name is
go
Judy
ahead.
Wade, and I live in Jacob Reese houses. Okay, right now the situation with this PAC program. Our TA team board members, they're not supporting the tenants. They're insubordinate. When we ask questions, they evade the questions. When it's time for questioning, they say, "Oh, we're going to do it later on," and they evade the question. They don't answer. Okay, this PAC program here, they're just pushing it over. You got a lot of people out here, Asians in the area, and Puerto Ricans, people that don't understand what's going on. They're preying on the seniors. That's like she said with them little dots. They got them going around with them dots, and I'm like, what is that? This is how they're doing their vote. So we asked about the vote for the Rat Pack one. Well, they said the TA is going to vote for it. I said, no, the HALL, they won't. Okay, and they came and approached me, and I told them, I said, I'll get legal assistance. I'm not dealing with this. You all have to make this vote more transparent. Okay, so now when I asked him again, he said, oh, now they got to push the vote back. And
Go ahead, man.
the thing is, with this vote thing, to me, this seems like a Ponzi scheme. Because they just came in out of nowhere with this PAC program. Nobody knew nothing about it. They didn't come and ask us what we wanted. They just pushed and bullied their way up in there. And we don't want what they're doing, because what I see here is that they gave us to them, to housing to them, and housing is pawning us off, because as they keep giving the money for housing to these PAC people, they're raising the rent. They say they won't do it, but they will. They'll find ways to get us out of there and build them in the condominiums. These pictures that they're showing us of how they're going to redecorate and do everything, I got pictures of that too. This is all he said, resident. I said, that's the key word.
30 more seconds.
Okay.
To wrap it up.
They're going to turn this. They want everybody out of here into condominiums. I live in a one-bedroom apartment. Now, they're talking about they're going to move me to a studio. No. And then you got health problems with the work that they'll be doing, the way that they're doing it. I have lupus. I got lupus when I first moved in here. Okay, the thing I don't understand, it took 2 weeks before I could move into the apartment for the person to come and inspect. Okay, they let me move in. What did the inspector do? The mold was there. The lead was there. All of that's there. It took 2 weeks for me to move in for the inspector, but they let me move into that. So now I'm sick as hell. You got a lot of people that got sick. Then they got this generator on the roof. They didn't ask nobody about it and tell people what it's going to do. I said it's going to make noise. Every night it's like being a human microwave. All day. The first 2 floors. This is what's going on. They don't care about the tenants. They're not asking us what we want. They're not working with the tenants. So, I'm just stressed. Every day you got to wake up stressed, worrying about, are they going to take you out your home? Are you going to be put in the streets? I've been there, because I lived in Brooklyn when they did it to some place where I was living. They said they're going to put us up. They set us out in the street and said Red Cross is going. We were out in the cold and the rain. And I refuse to be homeless again because these people want to steal our lives and our homes. These are high property organizations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your testimony. I hear
Thank
your
you.
frustration and your concerns and
All
your
right.
fears. Next.
Hello,
You
good
may
af-
proceed, ma'am.
Is it on? Good
Press
afternoon,
the button, make sure the light is on.
It's on.
Okay, you may proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, council. This is my son, Michael Gavin Cintron. You may not be able to see from there, but this is my only child. He passed away September 8th of 2022 with the whole debacle of arsenic going on. It is in fact true, even though they denied it and they redacted it the same day my son passed away in the hospital. And they evaded any and all tests to prove it. But I know something went wrong because there are serious environmental hazards that I did not know about, and I feel completely blindsided, as well as other tenants, I'm sure. As far as Jacob Reese House is being standing over an old manufacturing gas plant site that's emitting coal tar, volatile chemicals, benzene, toluene, silica, dust, everything. We brought it to the attention of the environmental lawyer, Joel Krumferman. We even scoped out the DEC, and they weren't following protocol when we brought it to their attention of the steam intruding into the apartments. Other people have also passed away. My son passed away. He needed a double lung transplant. He had pulmonary fibrosis, which is nearly unheard of for anyone in that age category, and that's because of the asbestos, the lead, the mold, everything. It's a horrible environment that I didn't think this type of thing was still existed. You know, like, why is this stuff even there? Asbestos was banned in 1990. They came into my apartment because I had to argue with them to test. They ran no tests. Back in 2021, when my son was sick and we didn't know why, I called the Federal Monitor and spoke with Joe Jaffe and a whole bunch of people over there. We even went down to their office in Midtown to show them the water and how tainted it was, and my son drank that water, and while he was sick, I was giving him that water, making him tea, thinking I'm making him better, and August the 3rd, 4th, he went into the hospital to get better, came back on August 12th, went back the
30
25th
seconds to wrap it
of
up.
August, and he needed 15 liters of oxygen. They were doing all this construction around our building, not following protocol. And the EMS couldn't even get in, and he was in respiratory failure. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous, and I think in a court of law, they're not going to hold me liable to pay them anything. I'm not paying them 1 red cent. All of our civil rights have been violated. I do not agree, and we got granted a transfer a year ago, and they haven't done anything. Management's not doing anything. They're sending bogus notices. They're not taking me to court. They're not doing anything. It doesn't make sense that my son got this sick. I had a rare skin sarcoma. I had breast cancer. 3 years back to back, this is what I dealt with. 18, 19, 20. Through 22, my son was sick and passed away. And when we went to the town hall meeting on the 9th, it made sense. I told my son, I promised him I will get to the bottom of this, and I did. And I know damn well that this residence where I live, I didn't always live in NYCHA, made my son deathly ill. It targets people. It compromises DNA. It targets different organs. I've educated myself and done my research. Thank you for listening.
Sorry for your loss, man.
Thank you.
And I hear your frustration. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez?
Good afternoon, council member and Public Housing Committee. Listening to the testimonies today and throughout the years that I've done my advocacy. My name is Manny Martinez. I'm the resident council president for South Jamaica Houses. I'm also the Queens South District Chair, which is an alliance of resident councils from Far Rockaway to South Jamaica. Today's meeting was about the Federal Monitor, about the 2019 agreement. In that 2019 agreement, line 53 is very crucial because it's the only component in that agreement that speaks to the residents, right, indirectly, in the sense that compliance is an issue. The NYCHA Compliance Department was created because of line 53, which it mandated for that compliance department to be created and to make sure that factual statements come from NYCHA, given the lies that were given out with the lead scandal with Shola Latoya. And also, they have to make sure that NYCHA is in accordance with local, federal, and state laws. Currently, right now, we have a challenge. We have several resident councils who have put a challenge, a dispute, right, within our rights as resident councils, as representatives, to demand recognition of the Citywide Council of Presidents. We've also demonstrated evidence to NYCHA that, with NYCHA's own documentation, that they created the Citywide Council of Presidents, that the Citywide Council of Presidents is a creation of the Housing Authority, which violates the resident organizing rights that we have as public housing residents. A lot of people don't realize that today's public housing comes from civil rights era amendments, the Brooke Amendment in 1969, that is supposed to counter these experiences that we still continue here. When we have the Housing Authority that is creating resident organizations to silence us, and also, if I may,
30 seconds to wrap
and to silence us, and to also manipulate our rights, to diminish our voice, and have our population, because NYCHA's population is the largest public housing Black and Hispanic population in the country, in the Western Hemisphere of Earth, right? And so to have them manipulate elections, to create resident organizations, and then to not respond to our disputes because they can't, I guess, for over a year, that's a problem. And we're asking for the Public Housing Committee to take a look at this. I've sent some documents to your office, council member, that's evidencing this, and I have some more. And we also have issues with HUD, where HUD now is not following their own clearance procedures as they communicate to the public, and NYCHA is using that to their advantage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, panel, for your testimony. Thank you. We are now going to proceed to our virtual testimony. The first person, Cynthia Tibbs.
Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Cynthia Tibbs. I'm the TA president of the West Side Urban Renewal Brownstones. We are located on the Upper West Side, 36 buildings. I'm also the second vice chair of Manhattan South DCOP. Let's make it very clear, this is a monitor's meeting. We have yet to even get an introductory letter from the monitor's office letting us know who they are, who's in charge of what borough, and how we can contact them. I don't know if this is being done maliciously because they went into a contract with NYCHA, from what I'm told, where they're not getting paid for the first year that they sit on this panel, but they have not worked with us at all. They only have 2 TA presidents that sit on the round table, so the only communication they're getting are from those 2, and that does nothing for the rest of us. This nonsense has got to stop. They talk about they're working great with NYCHA. Well, I guess they are, because they're lying today as much as NYCHA lied under oath. No one takes this oath thing you guys do seriously. We're the ones that work every day with our residents. We are not paid. NYCHA's so busy promoting themselves into higher positions that pay more money, but yet you can't get through to a call center for over an hour because they laid off half the call center because they're so busy going automated. And regarding RAD Impact, once they turn all these cheap cosmetic upgrades over to the private developers, they in turn have nothing to do with NYCHA residents. And they have no oversight over the PAC developments. I've been to meetings where residents have begged to come back to NYCHA only to be told no, because there's no representation from NYCHA there. And if I sound frustrated, it's because I only get 2 minutes to speak when NYCHA gets to come up in there with their slides and their pretty pictures and swear to you that, oh, it's this reason and that reason. They're looking
Thank you. Your time's expired.
to go down. They're looking for their numbers to go down so they
Thank
can
you, Ms.
hurry up
Tibbs,
and
for
get
your
us off.
testimony. Thank you, Ms. Tibbs, for your testimony. Dana Elder.
You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chairman Banks, council members, monitors, NYCHA officials, and fellow resident leaders. My name is Dana Eldon. I'm president of St. Mary's Park Housing. It's a pleasure to finally address the Federal Monitor Group. I have been attempting to reach them since February. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I've been attempting to reach them since February 2024. In the past, Federal Monitor Bart Schwartz held monthly meetings with the different boroughs that enabled us to have a conversation and sometimes corrections noted. I personally have emailed them numerous times since their beginning and received no response other than to say that they received my email. We are mixed finance development with 1,007 apartments and 210 Section 8 apartments. When you try to reach the the call center, we are getting no responses. For me, the definite issue with our heating system, which I indicated to them that zone valves should be added to our system. The average cost of a zone valve is $25 to $100. It took almost a year for them to be installed. Consequently, since their installation, they have not worked properly for several reasons. The zone valves are supposed to be attached to a thermostat and a monitor control panel for the temperature. And if it is a fluctuating temperature, then the control panel gets the signal to turn off or turn on the heat. This past weekend, Friday to Monday morning, the temperatures went from 48 to 54 degrees in the evenings and beyond. During this period, I contacted heating supervisory staff a couple of times for assistance. To no avail, the apartments here were cold. I received 18 complaints from residents who first attempted to use my night shift.
Thank you. Your time's expired.
Can I please finish? With the app which did not work. And
30
then
seconds,
finally,
please wrap it up.
the statement was posted untrue that we were offline and the call center could not be contacted. It was my concern that the residents get their heat. So I then called Mr. Green, who is present there. And so the whole weekend went without heat until Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. I am a cancer patient, sir, and my health is very important to me. And so freezing in my bed with clothes on was not my idea of any kind of service that I'm deserving of. And as far as I'm concerned, NYCHA has not fulfilled their promise to give us the service that we need. And the Federal Monitor needs to open up the door and speak to some of us out here in the field who are working hard every day for no pay to serve our communities. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We have Christina Chase.
You may begin.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Ms. Chase.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Christina Chase. I am a resident at Ravenswood Housing, where I sit on the Resident Association Board as second vice president. I guess in a nutshell, we still need transparency over the contracted labor and oversight. I'm sorry about the music in the background. I'm at a Halloween party for the kids in our neighborhood. I'm really sad that our date was chosen for Halloween because many of us TA members are holding down events in our community. But anyway, we still need transparency over contracted labor and oversight over the quality of work, particularly when it comes to debris from lead and asbestos abatements. Tenants have witnessed sloppy jobs that included debris in the hallways, elevators, and outside of the building, including myself. As mentioned earlier, although NYCHA has done a better job at responding to elevator outages, the outages are all too frequent. For example, I remember an outage last January in 2023 that resulted in me having to carry my newborn son in a heavy car seat down 6 flights of stairs after having a cesarean section. That's major abdominal surgery. Just a few days before, against medical advisement of no lifting. I'm not sure what irreparable damage I've done to myself simply for taking my son to a doctor's appointment, but this is just an example of the everyday indignities we have to endure and the indirect ways repair needs impact our health. We need a system for preventative maintenance and care, not just responding to repairs, for our elevators and every other pillar. And we need stronger enforcement of regulations from the Federal Monitor's office. I'd be remiss to be here and not communicate the concerns of Ravenswood residents. Besides cleanliness of the corridors and public spaces, 3 items I want to discuss in particular are windows, radiator covers, and NYPD floodlights. My seniors keep asking me how they can get their windows clean from the exterior. Management has told me that NYCHA does not clean windows. I'm unsure if this is a liability policy or a funding issue, but our residents should not have to live in this.
Thank you. Your time's expired.
All right, I will send it to you, and I hope to engage the office further. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chase. Thank you for your testimony. That concludes today's meeting. We want to thank everyone who came out today, and I'm looking forward to continue to advocate for the residents of NYCHA. Thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.